Yeah, yeah, yeah. So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge, they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hey, y'all. Hello, everyone. It is Pam Esquire, also known as your law intellect. You guys know what we're here for. We are the social media jurors in the Sean Diddy Combs case over there in the Southern District of New York. I hope you guys are having a great day. We do have the transcript. You guys have spoken, and so I made sure I got the transcript. They got out of court pretty early, so the transcript was available earlier. So we are going to see what Kid Cudi has to say. So I did see some of the tweets, but of course the transcript is going to have more information and give more reference. But before we get to that, because I know you guys are excited about this, because I want to know too. Before we left off yesterday, there was an assistant, Mr. Kaplan, that was on the stand. So we're going to start with Mr. Kaplan. We got to finish with what Mr. Kaplan had to say, and then we'll get into Kid Cudi and his testimony. It really wasn't as long as I thought that it was going to be. Looks like the government got through their witnesses rather quickly. So by about 3 o'clock, they were done with the witnesses for the day. So, what I want you to do is to hit the like button. And if you're new over here and you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would really appreciate it if you did that. And yeah, we going to get right into it. Hey, Funkin' Pops. Okay. I haven't seen that name, but thank you so Y'all names are so funny to me. Jay Harper said, hit the like button. It's free. Yes, please. Thank you. And thank you so much. Before I even pressed go on this here button, I had Samantha send nice little donation for the transcript. And I just want to thank you, Samantha. She said transcript procurement donation. I just want to thank you so much for, contributing to that fund. I really appreciate you. So hopefully you're in the chat so that you can enjoy the reading of the transcript. I don't know how enjoyable it is. I don't know if that's the word, but I guess partake or something. I don't know, because a lot of this stuff is not enjoyable at all. DST 1095, thank you so much for the super chat. See, y'all starting this thing off right. Y'all like, Pam, we appreciate you and your time. And so we're donating. I appreciate that. You said, hey, voiceover Pam, supporting the transcript. Yeah, I woke up and barely had a voice this morning because of all of the different voices I've been trying to make so you guys can differentiate between the different people that are in this case. It's interesting. I think it's Law and Crime. They've actually done some AI they did AI for opening statements, and they did AI for, I think, Cassie's testimony. And so they get the transcript, and apparently they must have some type of software where they can do almost a reenactment of how they believe it happened in court. Very interesting. I haven't watched it yet, but somebody was asking them about doing it for Kid Cudi, and that's when he mentioned it. I was like, oh, I didn't know they was doing all of that. So yeah, that's that. And his cousin, he said, yes, they have. Okay, I have to go over there and see. All right, we gonna get into it. All right, we got a lot going on, and hold up. Let me see. Thank you so much, D Boogie. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the super chat. Let me see. Hold on. This is the transcript for today, and we're going to start with Mr. Kaplan. Let's see what page he starts on. Let me see. Okay, so the court says, let's have Mr. Kaplan back on the stand. Ms. Comey says, thank you, Your Honor. Welcome back. Welcome back, members of the jury. Now, Mr. Kaplan, you understand you're still under oath. I do. Ms. Comey, you may proceed when ready. Thank you, Your Honor. So then it resumed. Hold on one second. Hold on. Hold on. So it's good morning, Mr. Kaplan. Good morning. Everybody calling. Let me see. Hold on. Okay. Everybody calling. Let me see. Hold on. Let's see. All right. Good morning, Mr. Kaplan. Good morning. I would like to pick up where we left off yesterday, talking about some of your job responsibilities and tasking that you carried out as Mr. Combs' assistant. How often, if at all, did you carry cash for Mr. Combs when you were his assistant? Very frequently. How would that come about on those infrequent occasions? There was an occasion where security in New York gave me a bag of cash to hold while we were in the air on a jet, on Mr. Combs' jet, and then land and hand it to the security who was on the ground meeting us. And then let me pause you and just ask you about that one, if that's okay. Do you remember about when that was? Sometime in 2015. Do you remember who the security personnel were who handed you the cash or who handed the cash to you? No, but it was Mr. Combs' security. Yes. And how much cash, if you know, did security have you hold for them on Mr. Combs' jet? I was told it was $50,000. See, were there ever any other times that security had you carry such a large amount of cash for Mr. Combs, or was that the only time you can recall? That's the only time I can recall. And then what other times, if any, were there when Mr. Combs had you carry large amounts of cash for him? I didn't carry them, but I went to the Western Union a couple of times to pick up cash and give it to Mr. Combs, but not understood. They cut him off real quick. I apologize for using the word carry. Pick up. About how many times do you remember picking up cash for Mr. Combs at Western Union? 2 or 3 times. And how much cash did you pick up from Western Union for Mr. Combs each time? $10,000. Now, this is the person that actually has immunity, and we talked about it yesterday. Both of his assistants, I know his first assistant had some type of proffer. We don't know exactly what's in the agreement, but this one, we know the judge actually signed immunity as well because he planned on pleading the fifth. He said, what y'all not going to do is have me sitting over there next to Mr. Combs, who I'm pointing out. So I'm not saying nothing. So they did give him immunity. Do you know where the $10,000 was being Western Union from? Combs Enterprise. Combs Enterprise? Yes. When you picked up that cash each time at Western Union, what did you do with it? I gave it to Mr. Combs. I want to take a step back, Mr. Kaplan, and just talk about your testimony here today. Did you receive a subpoena requiring you to testify at this trial? Yes. And is there also an immunity order compelling you to testify, even if your testimony might incriminate you? Yes, that's why I'm here. Shoot. What is your understanding of what that order requires you to do? To testify truthfully and allow for this testimony to not be used against me. Let's break that down. First, are you required to tell the truth here? Yes. And if you do that, what is your understanding of the protections that that order gives you that my testimony cannot be used against me? Does this order protect you from prosecution for any crimes you may have committed in the past as far as you know? No. Does this order protect you if you lie here today? No. In other words, can you still be prosecuted for perjury if you lie here today? Yes. I want to turn now to a different topic. What, if any, long term romantic partners were you aware of Mr. Combs having during the time that you worked for him? Cassie, Miss Porter, and there is a woman named Gina. Let's take each of those in turn. I would like to start with Kim. Based on your interaction with her and Mr. Combs, what was your understanding of who Kim was? She was the mother of some of Mr. Combs' children and very important figure in his life. And when you mentioned Cassie, who was she as far as you understood? Mr. Combs' girlfriend. When you mentioned a woman named Gina, who was she? She was another one of Mr. Combs' girlfriends. What, if any, social relationship did you have with those three women? Very little, if any at all. Miss Foster, would you please pull up what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 2A401? Hold on, y'all. 1 second. I got to step away for I. All right, I am back, you guys. Make sure you hit that like button so other people know that we are on. D Boogie said, "Come on, Pam, with the church announcements. I just want you guys to know, what's going on in the order of the service on today." All right, let's get into it. Again, we are going over Kaplan. We have not went over Kid Cudi yet. We'll give people time to usher themselves into the courtroom and hit this gallery seat because I know that's what everybody want to hear. Okay. But I'm gonna finish Kaplan first. All right. So y'all bear with me. Bear with me. Mr. Kaplan, do you recognize the person in that photograph? Yes. And who is that? Cassie. Do you know her by any other name? Cassie Ventura. We can take that down. Thank you, Miss Foster. About how often, Mr. Kaplan, do you remember seeing Cassie in person during your time as Mr. Combs' assistant? Very regularly. About how often did you see Cassie when she was not physically with Mr. Combs? Irregularly. Did it happen that much? Not really. How many times, if at all, did you witness Mr. Combs be physically violent with Cassie? Once. I'd like to talk about that time, please. Can you remember about when this happened? It was in the second half of 2015. Where were you when this happened? On Mr. Combs' jet? On his private plane? Yes. Who else was on the jet with you? Other team members, security management? I don't remember exactly. Let's break that down. You were on the jet? Yes. And security was on the jet? Yes. And you said other team members were on the jet? Yes. And other than those people, who else was on the jet? Mr. Combs and Cassie. Where was the jet flying to? Las Vegas. Could you describe for the jury what the layout of the jet was, please? Sure. You walk up the steps. At the top of the steps, if you look left, it's the cockpit. If you look right, there are four captain chairs, two and two facing one another. As you continue down, if you're facing on the right side, there is a picnic table with more seats. There's a bench facing that. And then you run into a partition with two sliding doors, and then there was a bedroom or a bed area in the back. So behind the partition, there was a bed area? Yes. Before the violence you witnessed started, where were you on the jet? I was sitting at the picnic table with my back to the door. By the door, do you mean that partition you talked about? Yes. And who was behind it? Mr. Combs and Cassie. How was the partition positioned? It was ajar. It was more open than it was closed. So, what part of the back of the plane were you able to see from where you were sitting? I had a partial view over my right shoulder into the back. And who was in the front of you on the plane towards the cockpit? Everyone else. So, security, everyone else who was traveling with you was further to the front of the plane? Correct. How did you first notice that something was happening? I heard a glass break. From what direction did you hear glass break? Behind me. Can you describe the sound you heard? It was a glass crash shatter. Okay, he didn't do all that, but I'm just saying, like, isn't that describing that you like? What did you do when you heard that glass shatter? I looked over my right shoulder. And what did you see in the back of the plane when you looked over your right shoulder? I saw Mr. Combs standing over Cassie. Can you describe for us how Cassie's body was positioned? Yeah, she was on her back and her legs were extended up in a way that would indicate that she was trying to create space between the two of them. What was lying on her back on the floor? Oh, I'm sorry. Was she lying on her back on the floor? Yes. And what was Mr. Combs doing? He was standing above her, over her. What, if anything, was in his hand? He had another glass in his hand that he was holding up. He was holding it above Cassie? Yes. What did that glass look like? It was rocks, a whiskey rocks glass. As this was happening, what, if any, voice could you hear from that back of the plane? I mean, there was tremendous commotion and scuffle. And then after the glass crashed, Cassie screamed, "Isn't anybody seeing this?" Did Mr. Combs say anything before Cassie said, "Isn't anybody seeing this"? I don't know. Did you hear his voice at all during this interaction? Yes. Do you remember what words he said? No. Do you remember what his tone of voice was? He was angry. After you looked back and saw Mr. Combs standing over Cassie with the glass in his hand, what did you do? Nothing. Nothing at all. Did you look away? Yes. After you looked away, what did you hear? Further glass crashing and chaos. At what point in all of this did Cassie say, "Isn't anybody seeing this"? Maybe a second or two after I turned my head back forward. Did anyone respond to her? No. You said you did nothing. What did security do? Nothing. Why didn't you intervene, Mr. Kaplan? I was 23 years old. All I wanted to do was have a great job in the entertainment industry. I could not believe my good fortune would be working for such an icon. And the last way that I thought that I would be successful in that career would be to compromise his well being in any way. Did you ever call the police to report what you saw? No. Why not? Basically, what I just said. It would not have been keeping with what I was trying to accomplish professionally. Like, you're not getting it, lady? I wasn't trying to mess up my career. What did Mr. Combs do after you heard the last glass shatter? He came into the front section of the plane and sat in on the captain's chair. Before he came to the front of the plane, what, if anything, did you hear him say? He told Cassie to stay in the back. When he came to the front of the plane, what was his demeanor? Pretty even keeled. So he was calm? Yeah. After he came to the front of the plane, who was in the back of the plane? Cassie. Was anyone with her? No. Did anyone go to check on her? No. How much longer did the flight last? Less than an hour. What do you remember happening in Las Vegas after that flight? Mr. Combs had a club appearance. We went to the hotel that we were staying at. He and Cassie got ready. I don't remember if it was together or separately. And then Mr. Combs went to the club. All the staff went with him. And then I went back to collect Cassie when she was ready to bring her to where Mr. Combs was. Did you bring Cassie to Mr. Combs at the club? I don't remember specifically dropping her off next to him, but I remember bringing her to the table where we were all anchored. Can you please explain what a club appearance is, please? A club appearance is when a club hires a celebrity to show up for promotional purposes to attract other guests and club goers. After this incident, how many times, if any, did you see Cassie with bruising or injuries on her face? One time. About when was this? Also, the second half of 2015. Who was it, before or after the plane incident we have just discussed? After. Where did this happen? I saw her in Mr. Combs' home. In which home? Los Angeles. Can you explain to us how you came to see Miss Ventura with injuries on her? Yes. Mr. Combs called me via intercom to come see him upstairs. I thought that he was in his bedroom. He was actually in his bathroom. I entered his bedroom. Cassie was crying on the bed with her head in her hands. I walked past her without saying anything to her and met Mr. Combs in his bathroom. Let me ask you some follow up questions about that. You said Combs called you via intercom. What do you mean by that? Like a PA system in the house? And then, is Mr. Combs' bedroom connected to his bathroom in that house? Yes. When you went in the bedroom, can you explain what you saw in a bit more detail, please? Cassie was on the bed. She was clearly upset. Her head was in her hands. It was clear that there was bruising near her right eyebrow and on her forehead where her hands were not covering her face. And I was in that room for less than 3 seconds. Where did you go after seeing Cassie on the bed with injuries on her face? To Mr. Combs. And what happened when you went to Mr. Combs? He asked me to pick up several over the counter lotions that lotion remedies of some kind, which I later came to learn were to be mixed together to act as an anti swelling agent. What ingredient do you remember Mr. Combs asking you to get specifically? The only one I remember is witch hazel. What did you do after Mr. Combs instructed you to pick up these ingredients? I picked them up. Where? At CVS. How did you pay for them? With my corporate credit card. Your Combs Enterprise credit card? Correct. Where did you bring them? To Mr. Combs. When did you stop working for Mr. Combs, Mr. Kaplan? December 2015. Why did you decide to leave your job as Mr. Combs' assistant? The central reason that I left my job as Mr. Combs' assistant was that I was not comfortable or aligned with the physical behavior that had been going on that I had seen pieces of over the course of the months. When you say the physical behavior, what are you referring to? The plane incident in question, the bedroom incident in question, having to be responsible for fixing those type of things and being assisting the fixing. It was extremely challenging because I obviously was extremely grateful to be in the role and had and have a great deal of respect for Mr. Combs. And it was extremely vexing. But in my heart of hearts, I knew it was the right thing to do. You reference having to fix things. What do you mean by that? like being asked to go get witch hazel and just being party to any of this type of stuff? When did you make the final decision to leave as Mr. Combs' assistant? My dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. He lives in Boston. Being so far away, it was untenable for me. And given the rest of what's been described, that was the best choice for me. Was it just the two incidents with Cassie that led you to the decision, or did something else happen? There were other incidents. What other incidents? There was an incident where in the Miami house, Mr. Combs threw a number of decorative or real green apples at another girlfriend. Which other girlfriend was that? Gina. I want to talk about that, please. You said this was at the Miami home? Yes. What's the address of the home? Two Star Island. And what time of day did you see this happen? Late at night? Where on the Two-Star property did you see this happen? In the entryway of the main home? And what did you see in the entryway of the main home? Okay, Mr. Holmes was very Combs say Holmes. Mr. Combs was very angry, and he was throwing these green apples that lived in a decorative vessel at some kind in the main entryway. Where was Mr. Combs throwing these apples? At Gina. How hard was the throwing these apples? Hard. What was his demeanor as he was throwing these things? He was very angry. And who was he throwing them at? Gina. How was Gina reacting? She was trying to shield herself with her arms and she was moving away from him. What did you do in response? Shoot, I left. Why didn't you intervene? For all the same reasons that I mentioned before. Just a young kid really trying to make it in the entertainment industry. This was essentially my first professional endeavor, and I actually thought for a second that it might be normal. This is what I could expect if I wanted to have a career in this injury industry. So I was sort of working all that out in real time as a young man. When is the next time you saw Mr. Combs after that incident? Later that night. What happened later that night? He intercomed me to ask if I would bring him his medicine bag. What did you do in response? I brought him his medicine bag. To where? His bedroom. What happened when you went to Mr. Combs' bedroom? He received the bag from me and he asked me to leave. Can you describe what was going on in the bedroom when you walked in? Yeah, there was definitely some tension. Gina was standing in the corner of the room on the other side, like very far away, and Mr. Combs knew why I was coming to the room. So he was not upset with me for coming to the room, but he wanted me to leave the room once I gave him the medicine bag. What was his demeanor? He was seemingly on edge. When is the next time you heard Gina's voice after that? A while later. Also, also in the middle of the night, there was a commotion near the front gate of Mr. Combs' home where I heard her voice. Where were you when you heard Gina's voice near the front gate to Two Star? I was in my bed in the guest room. Where is the guest room relative to the front gate? It was closer to it than the main house, and if you are entering the front gate, it's on the left in the driveway. What did you hear Gina saying in the middle of the night near the gate? I didn't hear any specific words, but again, it was a lot of the commotion and a lot of screaming and back and forth. Who else did you hear outside near the gate with Gina? I heard other male voices, which I deemed to be Mr. Combs' security. For about how long did you hear this going on? Less than a minute. Is it possible to get out of Two Star without someone opening the gate for you? Or you opening the gate yourself if you know the code number? I don't believe so. If you don't know the code, is it possible to get out of the property at Two Star? I don't remember if there was a button for the gate or not. That would have been the way that someone would have gotten out without the code. So they're trying to establish like Gina wanted to leave and he kept her behind that gate. That's what they trying to establish. She was ready to go and they weren't letting her go. That whole kidnapping thing that's in the complaint. What did you do after you heard this commotion by the gate? Nothing. Why nothing? Because I didn't, because I wished it wasn't happening, because I didn't want to be involved with it, and because I really, really wanted to have a successful career in the entertainment industry, and standing in the way of that was not my way to succeed. Do you remember about when in 2015 this happened? Second half of 2015. Was it before or after the two incidents you described involving Cassie? After? And when did you leave Combs Enterprise? December 2015. How long did you stay at Combs Enterprise after giving notice that you were going to leave Combs Enterprise? 3 months? I think the other guy said he gave notice and stayed for 6 months. So they stay a long time after giving notice. And when did you officially give notice that you were going to leave Combs Enterprise? September 2015. And how soon after this incident with Gina you have just described did you give that notice? Within a month. After the incident with Gina, who did you speak to the next morning? I spoke with Brian Offit and Sandy Humphrey. I spoke to Christina Coram. I remember these conversations. Which of those was in person, Christina? And is that the person we have talked about called KK? Yes. What did you tell KK? I gave her a recount of what I had observed the night before. Did you tell her everything you have just told us? Yes. What, if anything, did you tell her about what you had observed on the jet involving Cassie? I had told her each time that I witnessed any sort of violent act. So let's break that down. Did you tell KK about the incident on the jet? Yes. Did you tell KK about the time you saw bruising on Cassie's face? I don't know. And did you tell KK about the incident that you saw involving Gina? Yes. How did she respond when you told her these things? She was sad. She was disappointed. What did you tell her the morning after this incident involving Gina? That this was going to be the last straw for me, and that I was going to see my way out of this role over the next period of time. How did she respond when she told you that? She was disappointed. We were very friendly and we worked really closely together, and I think that she was sad about the whole situation. Then how much longer did you stay with Combs Enterprises after you told Christina that this was the last straw for you? 4 months. What did you tell Mr. Combs about your decision to quit? I told him that my dad was sick and that I needed to be closer to him. How did he respond to that? He was extremely gracious. After you left at Combs Enterprise in December of 2015, what did you do? I moved back into my mom's house for 3 months and kind of collected myself. And then I moved to New York and got a job at an integrated marketing firm. What do you mean you collected yourself? I needed to dig pretty deep to sort of compartmentalize the experience for what it was, which I learned an incredible amount from in. At that time, it was the most incredible thing that had ever happened in my life. There was a lot of cognitive dissonance trying to parse apart the different pieces and what they all meant and how I could sort of be okay moving forward in my life. What's the last time you saw Mr. Combs in person before the pandemic? Did you remain in touch with him after you left? Yes. Why is that? Because I like Mr. Combs and I wanted to continue having a relationship with him. May I have a moment, Your Honor? She probably consulted with the other AUSAs at the table, and then she said no further questions. So that was the end of her questioning. Y'all hit that like button or no? So, what do you guys think about that direct examination from Mr. Kaplan? It's sad to me that so many staff members witnessed this abuse and just ignored it or left. Y'all couldn't sneak some evidence, leave an anonymous FBI tip or nothing. So everybody stayed for their own come up. You think Diddy didn't know that a lot of these people were around him for what he could do for them? I seen that, like I said, with the Making the Band. He basically showed, like, for people, I have something that a lot of people want, And people are basically willing to do anything for that something. And they showed it on TV in a reality show. So everybody, somebody sitting there be getting beat up, and you just turn your back like, I can't see nothing. I can't see nothing. I can't see nothing. I can't see nothing. Thank you, James, for the Cash App. I appreciate that. This poor guy trying to make it in the industry, witnessing this had to make him uncomfortable. I'm sure it did. That's what I thought, a 2-week notice. That's what I always did. I thought I was being generous when I did that. Yes, come out the bushes and get the like buttons up. All right, y'all. All right. Dennis in here. Hey, Dennis. Good to see y'all. Diddy Ike Turner Combs. That is from the Gold Experience. All right, let's go on. And Max said he could use words like cognitive compartmentalization, but couldn't say stop hitting her. Wayne said Diddy ruined a lot of youth. I think this happens in DV a whole lot of times though too, where especially if you know, because I'm not gonna, like, when you get in those situations where you've been called to the rescue and then they stay anyway, you start putting your life in danger after a while. So it's like it almost has to be, well, it does. It has to be a decision where when they choose enough is enough and they're about to leave. Other than that, you put yourself in precarious situations. So I could definitely understand that, but I'm not understanding security. Like security, y'all couldn't just, no, we ain't gonna have none of that. Like, that's your job to keep the peace, right? Like, I know you're supposed to protect Diddy, but dang. So this guy was obviously like hired by, I guess, Combs Enterprises, so it wasn't Bad Boy. So he worked for him as a personal assistant. So being a personal assistant, you do run errands and go get food and you do all of that stuff, whatever they tell you to do. So he had an intercom and he would come up and that was part of his job. Cece said the things that people are willing to sacrifice. Yeah. Hey, Auntie Natty. All right, y'all. Let's see what happened on Cross. All right. Again, if you're just coming in, we're going over Mr. Kaplan, who was the assistant. He does have immunity. The government went over the immunity agreement as well during it because you want to put it out on the front end. That's why people were telling me in the chat, trying to tell me Cassie. I was like, no, they would have to let the defense know. And the defense probably would have talked about it if she had an immunity agreement of some sort or any type of proffer agreement. And the way his proffer agreement is framed is anything he says on the stand, he won't be criminalized for. However, if you commit perjury and they find out you lying, you can be charged for that. And also you can be charged for other acts in the past or something that has nothing to do with it. So it's not like total immunity from just any and everything. That's not what it is. But it is for anything involving what he's saying he was involved with while he's testifying on the stand. Let's go on. You guys ready? All right, let's get on. Mr. Agnifilo. I know he lead counsel, but he doing too much in this case. I think Nicole Westmoreland needs to be doing a bit more than what she doing. Maybe they just saving her for some of the women because there is a Jane Doe who is in the indictment who they are alleging was trafficked. And this is victim 2. And I think she is going to testify because there have been some filings related to her. I know alleged victim 3, they are saying, I guess they can't find, so they probably won't even be discussing her. Some have suspected it's Gina. They've made those suspicions. But yeah, so when that happens, I'm definitely gonna get that transcript. And I wonder if they're gonna have Nicole be the one to do, because so far she's done the best cross-examination. I think that's universal across everybody that's covering this case. So let's go to Cross. Good morning, Mr. Kaplan. Good morning. My name is Mark Agnifilo. I'm one of Mr. Combs' lawyers. I'm going to ask you some questions. I don't think it's going to be terribly long. We will get you out into the rain. If I ask you a question that you don't understand, if you want me to rephrase the question, all you need to do is ask, and I'll do that. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. Aren't they polite? I want to ask you about something you just said to my colleague as the U.S. Attorney's Office. You said working with Mr. Combs was the most incredible thing that happened in your life. At the time, yes. I just want tell tell the jury why you gave that answer. I think I like a lot of people in their early 20s. Excuse me. I think, like a lot of people in their early 20s, even those of whom have gone to college, their world is extremely small. When I moved to New York City after college, I was looking up at the buildings. I couldn't believe how big the world was and how small I was in it. And working for Mr. Combs made my world so much bigger in such a short period of time, and that amount of knowledge that I gained both from a business perspective but also just in a way of living with so much every day that it was almost like drinking from a fire hose, not in a bad way, but in a particularly overwhelming way that in many ways was positive. Oh, okay. Interesting explanation. Well, thank you. And tell us about the business perspective. You said part of the answer you just gave related to your perspective on business. Just tell the jury why you gave that part of the answer. Yeah. The reason that I was excited to take the role in the first place is because Mr. Combs is obviously an enormous business mogul across numerous industries. I have been a fan of his since I was a child. And to be frank, I keep lessons from him to this day from a business perspective that I use in my career every day. He taught me to have the work ethic that I have, understanding that no job was too big or small. And frankly, without a bunch of these lessons, I don't believe that I would have had the jobs that I've had since then. I find when I interview young people, none of these people understand that. And I'm very grateful for having learned those lessons from him. I guess he said it wasn't all bad. He learned some stuff. Diddy was just violent as heck with his girlfriend. I think you said yesterday that you were promoted. When you started working for Mr. Combs, at what point you got promoted? If I remember correctly, I think my colleague said, "Well, why were you promoted?" You said, "I think he recognized how hard that I work." Do you remember all that? Yes, sir. You're a hard worker? Yes. And you knew when you started working with Mr. Combs, it was going to be hard work, right? Yes. The line was you're going in eyes wide open, which is ironic because I was not as it turned out, but I did as far as the business and the hours and that type of stuff was concerned. When you started working, I just want to get the sag of things. So you knew Brian Offit before you knew Mr. Combs. Correct. He hired me out of college to be his assistant at Nickelodeon. We heard about Nickelodeon. I'm just saying, I don't know Brian, but Nickelodeon got a little documentary too. And all us very briefly, what did you do at Nickelodeon? Oh, purely administrative duties, scheduling travel, scheduling meetings, scheduling phone calls, sitting at a desk from 9 to 5 and 5:01 coming up and me saying, "I'll see you tomorrow." Mr. Offut came over to Combs Enterprise and you came with Mr. Offut. Correct. When you first got to Combs Enterprise, what was your job description then? Same, administrative duties. The one difference was that because Brian was now sort of accountable for Mr. Combs, the success of Mr. Combs' business units and all of the heads of those units reported to him. I got more into broader executive planning and planning group events for all of the executives because Brian was in charge of them, whereas at Nickelodeon he was not. So those type of things were not in my purview. Because Brian Offit, I know I'm messing his name up, but y'all know what y'all picking up what I'm putting down. I'll call him Brian. Thank you. He probably was saying his name messed up too. You called him Brian, so I'll call him Brian. When Brian came to Combs Enterprise and he had, what was his role? Oh, he was chief operating officer. And from what you could see, what was involved in that job description, from what you could see, ensuring the profitability and smooth operations of Mr. Combs Holding. And what was your role in helping Mr. Brian Offit do that? Making sure he was in the right place at the right time, making sure that he wasn't running terribly over on phone calls, and sticking to his schedule, making sure that if he had meetings outside of the office, his car was ready. He was in and out of the door, getting him lunch, scheduling travel. Then at some point, you got promoted from that job to a different job, to Mr. Combs' assistant. And how long were you working with Combs Enterprise when you got promoted to being Mr. Combs' assistant? 10 months. And you said, I know you just said it. I just want to sort of start us off again. Part of the reason you thought you got promoted is Mr. Combs recognized your hard work, right? Correct. You were working very hard? Correct. What led you to conclude that Mr. Combs recognized your hard work? Brian told me. How much time did you spend with Mr. Combs before you got promoted? Ballpark. Like, certainly less than 10 hours, probably closer to 5. He came to New York one time and his assistant kind of tried me out. Like, I went to get him coffee. I brought him a cup of tea in a Starbucks cup and it wasn't in a tea service. And I remembered that moving forward, those types of things. And while you were working with Mr. Offit, before you became Mr. Combs' assistant, you did work very hard, correct? Yes. And from what you could see from your time at Combs Enterprise, not everybody worked as hard as you did, correct? And so you said that with a certain emphasis that I don't know that the record picked up. So tell the jury what you mean by that answer. As I described myself in Nickelodeon, being someone who stood up at 5 o'clock to leave, I kind of kicked that at Combs Enterprise because it was inspirational and motivational. And I was so happy to be there. I would actually find myself staying late after Brian, which was kind of the start of this whole thing. But I can't say that that was true for everybody who worked there by any means. I also worked in the executive floor with Brian, which was a seemingly very different experience than people who work for different brands and other floors. You mentioned different brands. What were the different brands? Revolt was in there until they got a new office. Blue Flame, the marketing agency was there. The head of Sean John had an office there. The head of Ciroc, I think, had an office there. There were certainly different businesses all operating over these floors in these buildings. Let's go through some of them, and I want to know what your experience is with the various ones. Revolt. Tell the jury what Revolt is. It was it's a cable news network with which focuses on music and hip hop specifically. What, if any, connection did you have? Not connection. What work did you do in connection with Revolt? The head of Revolt at the time, Keith Clinkscales, reported to Brian. So, to the extent that I was scheduling meeting for Keith and Brian, Brian was also on the board. I think if I remember correctly of Revolt, so he is going to board meetings and things like that. I was also an employee of the company when Revolt launched, which they had been working on for a long time. So that was a very exciting day. Obviously, that everyone saw all their really hard work come to fruition. So that was exciting. Oh, you were there when Revolt launched? Correct. Tell the jury about that. Okay, Agnifilo. We were all in a conference room on the sixth floor of the Bad Boy office at 1710 Broadway. Anybody who was not producing the launch of television kind of was in that room. People were having cocktails. Mr. Combs, I think, opened the station from Biggie's doorstep in Brooklyn, if I remember that correctly. I'm not positive on that one, but it was an extremely momentous occasion, very auspicious. He didn't say that, I said that. In your view, why was it momentous? It was momentous because we all worked for Mr. Combs and this was his thing, and everybody, most people had contributed in some way. So I think that people felt good about that. I also think that revolt came about through an initiative. I don't have all the details, all the information, but it came about through a cable company initiative where cable companies were trying to give voices to more diverse groups, and revolt ended up being a fruit of that experience. So it was important. Tell me if this is right. Diversity was an important feature of revolt, correct? Yes. Everything that Mr. Combs did and does, diversity is very important part of it, specifically for African American people. How specifically did that express itself in revolt from what you could see? Could you rephrase it? Yeah, that was a terrible question. It was. It was Agnifilo, I agree. I'm going to ask a less terrible one. First, what you could see, what about revolt? Let me try again. He's struggling with this question. I said I would get you out soon. All good. You said that revolt had aspects of diversity to it. Just tell the jury what that was. Let me back you up 1 second. I'm going to ask you to try to put us all back there. None of us worked there. You did. Give us the feel. Give us what it was like. You're in a conference room. You're having cocktails. This thing launches. Give us a feeling of what it was. Were you proud? Yeah, it was a party. In this particular moment, from 5 to 6:30 p.m. on Thursday night or whatever it was in the office, it was a party, like it was an office party. People was not dancing on tables, there was not loud music, but folks were thrilled. It took years to launch the network. When you work with Mr. Combs, part of the job, no matter if you're close to him or not, he has an extremely infectious vibration. I mean, you are around him and you feel his excitement. You feel what he feels. And he's very in depth, adept of projecting that. So I think that those things in confluence made people proud, excited, feel like their hard had paid off, probably hard work had paid off, and that they were actually seeing what they were working on coming to life in the marketplace and on television. Did revolt have a mission? Did you ever use that word, or did you ever hear what word used? Mission? Vaguely. I don't really. That's okay. I want to go through some of the other companies and we will come back to some of this. You mentioned Blue Flame. Yes. What did Blue Flame do? My understanding is Blue Flame provided the marketing services for Ciroc. And Ciroc was a vodka company, correct. Spirits, yes. And Sean John was fashion, correct. And did you have connections and input from what you experienced into all of these businesses? No, not from a creative or business perspective, maybe from an administrative perspective. So let's talk about that part of it. The administrative perspective. What administratively did you do for Revolt? Y'all got to be kidding me right now. Wait a minute. Let me see how long this is. Jesus, keep me. So he's describing all these businesses. I'm not going to do this. If any of all did you have? Hold on. Okay. I'm skipping some of this. I can't. Oh my God. I have to. Chrissy said, I work with entertainment. I wasn't going to go and tell the things I saw so that I would not have a job for a millionaire who will continue accepting the treatment, but I'm broke. No way. Um, Narcs can be charismatic. That's from Lisa Qualls. Yes, if you have a specific question, you can super chat. Thank you so much, Lele, for the super chat. All right, I'm going to some of this on this guy. I'm gonna skip a little bit, okay? Because I'm kind of into the Kid Cudi thing too, okay? And it's taking a while. So then they say, who is Tony Abraham? He was the CFO of Combs Enterprise. Do you know anything about Tony Abraham's background? I have been made to believe that he had some financial issues coming into that role, but that was the only thing I knew about him. Do you know if he went to Harvard Business School? No. That's fine. Kenny Burns. Yes. Who was Kenny Burns? Kenny Burns was a friend of Mr. Combs who came in to work at Revolt. Do you know what he did at Revolt? Not really. He was like a promoter or talent person. Not exactly, no. Fair enough. I might say this wrong, but I think you said it before. Keith Clinkscale. Correct. Who was Keith? He was the CEO of Revolt. CEO of Revolt? Yes. And James Cruz? Oh, James Cruz, Mr. Combs' manager. What did Mr. Cruz do? He was Mr. Combs' manager. Like, didn't I just say that? As the manager, what did you see Mr. Cruz do? He was responsible for Mr. Combs' musical performances and club appearances and essentially his career as an artist. Neil Dominique? Yes, Neil worked at Revolt while I was there. I also knew that he was one of Combs' assistants before me. You talked to Christina Coram, KK? Right. Now you said you and KK had a friendship. Is that a fair way to put it? We had a very close professional working relationship. Yeah. How much interaction? I could call her KK. That's how you called her. I called her Christina, but whatever you want. He's like, I ain't call her KK. Where you get that from? Then that's what I'll call her. Tell the jury, Murray, about your relationship between you and Christina. She was my immediate boss. Certainly in the first 6 months that I was there, she told me what to do and when to do it. I learned how to do the job very much from her guidance. I talked to her more than I talked to any other individual on the staff. We certainly bonded over the amount of time that we spent together, which was many years in different locations and late nights and things like that. I want to focus you on something that you talked about with the government before you sat down. You said that at some point you spoke to Christina about the violence that you saw, correct? Correct. And if I remember your answer correctly, I think you said that Christina was disappointed and saddened. Correct. And that's what she expressed to you in the conversation you had with her, right? Correct. Okay. And there was no endorsement or even indifference about the news you had told her. She was saddened by it, right? Yes. Hold on one sec. Sorry about that. My kids. All right. And she was disappointed in Mr. Combs. Is that right? Yes. As were you. Yes. You and Christina had a conversation when you said, "This is what I saw." You told her what you saw, and you were disappointed, and even more than disappointed. I was sad. You were sad? And part of that reason you were sad, and tell me if it's right, I'm sorry for doing it this way because it's sad, right? Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. Also, you loved working there. I liked working there. Fair enough. You liked working there and you didn't want to leave. I did not want to leave. And you left because of what you had told the jury that you saw. Correct. So, from your perspective, and tell me if this is right, Mr. Combs' temper, from what you saw, did not help his business. No, it did not. It hurt his business. Yes, it did. You see what they doing there? With this whole like his violence and stuff was how he kind of kept people, but it sounded like people was leaving because of it. They were like, yeah, no, you're a good worker. Like I'm learning a lot. You a good businessman. You got good work ethic, but I cannot just see you beating on these women like that. So it was not helping his business, it was hurting it. Among other things, it prompted a really hardworking, dedicated, beloved person, meaning yourself, to leave the company. Correct. And you leaving the company because of what you saw, you have no reason to think that helps his business, right? No. You were effective, right? I tried to be. You worked very, very hard, right? I never worked harder in my life. You never worked harder in your life. And they always say you don't ask questions you don't know the answer to. But here I go. He probably watching our page because I done told him he do that too much. I was like, that is rule 101 in law school, not to ask a question you don't know the answer to. And so you decide to put that in here. I'm about to ask. I'm giving you the heads up, Pam. I'm about to ask a question I don't know the answer to. Looking back at it, was that a good thing or a bad thing? I can't answer that question. It's proven to be one of the most complicated pieces of my life. Okay, I survived. Yep. So he knew he was like throwing that answer out there. He really didn't know what the answer was gonna be, and it didn't work out bad for him. So he's like, I survived. Yep. But looking back, you're proud of the work you did. Yes. You're proud of how hard you worked, right? Yes. You're proud you were asked to be a great, great deal of work, and you did a great, great deal of work, right? Very proud of that. You're proud of the quality of the work that you did, right? Yes. And Mr. Combs at times has been very difficult, right? Yes. When he wanted, what was it, 1 gallon of water, you brought 2 gallons of water. He didn't need to yell at you, right? Well, it was 2 half gallons. I'm sorry. I figured that I I'd keep one full and then he'd go through it. I'd give him the next one full already. We keep the count. You had a theory. Okay, that must have been startling. It was startling. You're a young man, right? I'm a young man, and this is a God among men talking to me. He called him a God among men. And you didn't like that he spoke to you that way, right? Did not. It made you feel bad, right? Yeah. You remembered all these years later. Yes, sir. And you said the word, I'm going to ask you about it. There was something about him that was inspirational, highly. Tell us what that means for you. He he didn't just push me to my deepest depth. He introduced me to depths that I did not know that I had. It helped me not only professionally, but that piece helped me grow up as a man. Oh my. And so when you realize it wasn't right for your own moral standard to stay, that was deeply, deeply disappointing, to put it mildly. Yeah, my friend told me this was my Harvard and I was blowing it. Yet, I'm about to compliment you. You have a strong moral compass, correct? I think so. And your moral compass told you it was the best thing for you to leave. Yes, and you did. Yes. You still wish Mr. Combs well on his birthday, right? I do. You remember his birthday? November 4th. And that's because working at the company was really special for you. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity. What happened from the steps of Biggie's house? You said something happened from the steps of Biggie's house. If I remember correctly, Mr. Combs was on air and the first shot of revolt launching the network with the microphone in his hand from the front steps of Biggie's house behind him. Biggie has come up a few times in this trial, and I neglected to ask who Biggie was. Who is Biggie? Who are we talking about? Notorious B.I.G. He was a very famous rapper in the 90s who unfortunately passed away. When you were working at Combs Enterprise, you had a number of holidays that were paid holidays that you didn't have to come to work, right? Yes. If you were working at Combs Enterprises yesterday, would you have had to come to work? It only just occurred to me that I would not have had to come to work yesterday because I think it was Biggie's birthday, and that was a holiday for Combs Enterprise. That's correct. So if you worked at Combs Enterprises with the subpoena aside, you wouldn't have had to go to work because May 21st is Biggie's birthday, and that's a paid holiday. Correct. I interrupt my own list. Ezekiel Leal, that was Ezekiel. What was Ezekiel's job? He was one of the four counterparts that I had while I was in Mr. Combs' employ as his assistant. And Eli Moran, who is Eli? He was on Mr. Combs' management team. And Natalie Moore, who was that? That's Mr. Combs' publicist. Dia Sims, she ran Ciroc. And I think DeLeon too. Actually, no, she did. Ciroc and I think Andrew Mancini did. I don't know if he's even on this list, but yeah, no, she was the head of Ciroc. And David Tapscott, yeah, I don't remember what he did. That's fair enough. So I'm going to ask you, you can look at the memo that you wrote just to refresh your recollection. I'm going to ask you about a few things and you'll tell me what you remember about them. Do you remember wanting to convey to the people in the company that you should have a Fortune 500 spirit? Yes. And what did you mean by the term Fortune 500 spirit? Best in class. And in the case of Combs Enterprise, just because it's technically kind of like a startup holding company, it could still operate in a way that a very successful heritage business had for many years with best practices and the greatest people, which is always the most important thing to Mr. Combs was to have the best people. And fair to say, from what you saw, there really was a culture of excellence. Is that fair to say? Certainly in his executive office. And you were part of that, right? Yes. I want to ask you what you mean by excellence in the executive office. Is that people work very, very hard, right? Everybody, not just you, but the whole executive office, right? Yes. People work very long hours, correct? Correct. You and others try to make the company more efficient in every way, okay? Right? Correct. You tried to save money when you could, right? Always. That's the key part of any business, right? Okay. Try to make as much money as you could within reason, right? Mm-hmm. And even aside from all of that, having worked there, did you have a sense of some sort of innovation, something that you were involved in, something new and special, even just aside from the business component of it? Is that a confusing question? Yes. Thank you. Let me ask you a different question. Aside from the bottom line financial issues, was there anything else that you saw in the company that made it special? Oh, yeah. I mean, the company was comprised of all ambitious, young, creative people. I think Combs Enterprises, and because Mr. Combs, being an artist and his success in the music industry, it attracted a lot of people who also wanted to be artists, but maybe wouldn't become a musician, but could become a creative graphic designer or a producer or the types of businesses that Mr. Combs had really availed themselves to, like having lots of different positions. You could be a finance person, or you could be a creative, or you could be, not necessarily a scientist, but you could be one of the number of things. You could be an attorney, and there, like, would be a place for you somewhere in the greater ecosystem. And I think that that was super inviting to people. I also think that people who applied to work at Combs Enterprises really wanted to work there and really gave a crap about it. You guys were like a team. You were like a lick, a family. Maybe that's supposed to be a clique, a family. The executive team was a team. Did you guys sometimes talk about yourself as the Combs Enterprise family? Was the word family ever used, or am I? If it wasn't, it wasn't. I don't remember that word being used. That's fine. Now I have a few more specific questions for you and we'll let you go. Are you sure, Agnifila? You sure? You said you had a corporate credit card, correct? And you used that for virtually all purchases, correct? I used it at any time I was working. Now you don't know how. Were you involved in going through the credit card statement and figuring out this is a business, this is not a business? You didn't do that. No. And do you know who did it? No. So if you had to make a purchase for something while you were working, you used the corporate credit card. Correct. Now, in your experience with Mr. Combs, Mr. Combs does not tell me if this is right. Pay for things like himself in the moment. That's correct. So, in other words, it's not as though you and Mr. Combs are going to be someplace. You guys get lunch together. Mr. Combs gets a bill and writes a check, or no, definitely not. Tell us how it works from what you could see. Ideally, so Christina, one of his assistants, would have his wallet, which was a wallet with the black Amex and a license, and that was it, which was awesome. And ideally, we would have the black card, credit card, and that would just take care of anything for him. I would use my credit card if I was alone or if I didn't have the black card. So it does sound like he was trying to separate his businesses from his personal stuff. This is what they're trying to establish. And while you were with Mr. Combs, did he do things like lease yachts or lease villas and things like that? Yeah. And from what you could see, how was that kind of arranged or paid for? There was at least one person, if not multiple people in his office whose job it was to handle his travel. So he was making multi tens of thousands dollar purchases, rentals, leases, things like that. Yes. You have no reason to think that he's keeping track of baby oil purchases, right? Definitely not. No. That's just not whether a baby oil gets purchased at Dwayne Reed's or CVS. You have no reason to think Mr. Combs has the vaguest idea about that. Not at all. It just needed to be there when it needed to be there. And the same is true with, did he like apples? Do you remember applesauce being a thing? I do. Tell the jury what you remember about applesauce. Mr. Combs loves applesauce. He eats it on the side or on top of a lot of things. Cheeseburgers, cheeseburgers being one of them. And he just didn't keep track of the applesauce, right? He kept track of what he was focusing on in the given moment in the given day. I mentioned how, like, my world was really small and it got bigger and bigger. His world was the size of the earth. Like, he knew people who was doing things with for business and whatever literally around the world. So frankly, to think that he knew where some of these things were coming from was unrealistic. I want to talk about an incident on the airplane for a second that you told the jury about. Don't this sound like more than a few more questions? Agnifilo might be a pastor or something. You know how they always say, I'm about to close. If you just give me 2 more minutes, I'm got to get out of here. I got to move on. My time is up. But let me tell you one more thing. Then 20 minutes later, I got to go. 10 more minutes. I've been here too long. And they be like, take your time, Pastor. All right, I digress. I want to talk about the incident on the airplane for a second that you told the jury about. Did you see Cassie with any physical injuries? Not that I remember. You said that it looks like rocks, glasses were being thrown. You heard them breaking? Yeah, and he was holding one. And that's, Cassie was saying, isn't anyone seeing this or something along those lines? Yeah. And then you heard glass breaking, okay? And I think, and tell me if this is right, you would have seen Cassie later that evening, right? Because you brought her to the club premiere. Yes. And so, how much time would you have spent with her to bring her to the club from your ballpark? 5 minutes, 7 minutes? Would you have been in close proximity to her? Yes. Did you see any injuries to her? Not at that time, no. Not at that time, I mean. So, I know you're talking another time, but I'm going to get to that time in a second. I did not see her injured. She was not, no. That's later that same day, right? Yes. And you agree with me, you're in close contact with her a few feet away from her, correct? Yes. For about 5 minute period of time. So, right? Correct. Bringing her to the club, right? No injuries to her face, no injuries that you could see. Correct. Now, you said there was another time where you didn't see what happened, but this is the time Mr. Combs asked you to go out and get things, including witch hazel. Correct. You said she had like a bruise to her forehead type thing. Correct. And she was crying. Yeah, she was. She wasn't sobbing. She was sort of whimpering. Okay, I have no reason to dispute that something may have happened, but whatever happened, objection to the commentary, Your Honor. You didn't see it. I did not see it. Now, the incident with Gina, and tell me if this is right. This is the Miami house. Do me a favor. You have to answer yes or no. Yes. Do you walk in the house right? The front door, you walk in the house and tell me if you remember. There's a little, like, kind of thin table, like in front of you. You come in. I don't remember. You said that there were apples, either real apples or decorative apples. You don't know which. Correct. But green apples, things that look like green apples. Correct. In a, like, decorative holder or container or something. Yeah, I've been referring to it as a four-leg cauldron. That's not really the right way of putting it, but it was this huge bowl on four legs. It was made out of stone. That's the bowl? Yeah. And these decorative apples, real or fake, are in the bowl. Correct, probably 50. And Mr. Combs is throwing the apples hard at Gina, correct? Uh-huh, correct, yeah. And they're all in the same area. Is this like the entrance area to the Miami house? Yes. So Gina's there, Mr. Combs is there, and you're there. Yes. Is anybody else there? I don't remember. You don't have any recollection of anyone else being there with the three of you? I don't. Okay, fair enough. And he's throwing these apples at Gina? Correct. Can you tell if the apples are hitting her? No, I don't remember if they were. I don't know if I could tell at the time, but I don't remember. I remember her going away and covering herself. She's trying to avoid getting hit by the apples, but you don't have a recollection one way or other as to whether any of the apples actually struck her. Correct. Now let's go to later that same night. Am I right when you talked about the gate? Mm-hmm. So when you leave the Miami house, okay, you walk out. There's some distance, some fairly considerable distance. And then there are these two large gates that separate the road from the house. Yes. And the gates are typically in a closed position. Yes. And one of the things you're not sure of all these years later is whether the gates could be opened by some kind of button or device on the inside of the gate. Correct. You just don't remember one way or the other. Correct. Or whether to get the gates to open, you would have to alert someone who is whatever control mechanism it's required to open the gate. Yes. And could you hear what Gina was saying? No. Okay, you could not? I just heard screaming and commotion. When you say screaming, and I don't know if you can differentiate, but I ask you too, if you can, is it scream of terror or screams of can someone open the gate? Is that a real question, Agnifilo? Is it a she getting apples? She trying to leave up out of here? Was it scream of terrors? A scream of someone open the gate? I don't know how to differentiate the two. Okay, okay. And it's nighttime? Yes, the middle of the night. And so if no one, and do you know where security goes in the middle of the night? If they're not, let me ask a different question. Do you know where security goes in the middle of the night? Ain't that what you just said? Some of them sleep in the guest house that I was in. If they were sleeping, someone would have to alert them to open the gate unless there was a button, which you don't remember. Correct. And other than the screaming, there was no other event at the gate. There was no physical event at the gate. Correct. And I think you've talked on direct examination about a few things that Mr. Combs did. You know, he yelled at you, right? Okay. Do me a favor. You have to say yes or no. Yes. I think you said he threatened your job from time to time. He did. He never threatened you physically, did he? No. Did you ever hear him threaten Cassie physically? Can you, other than, the event on the plane, which he was angry and throwing things, did he ever physically threaten Cassie in your presence to your recollection? I'm sorry, physically threatening, meaning like saying that I'm going to hurt you type of thing. Physically, is that what that means? Among other things. Yeah, no, no, no. Now you said you talked about Kim Porter to a certain extent, okay? Now, and you talked about, I think you said Kim Porter was a very important person and was the mother of several of Mr. Combs' children. Correct. And then when my colleague with the government asked you about Cassie, you said Cassie was a girlfriend. Correct. And Gina was a girlfriend. Correct. When the government asked about Kim Porter, you didn't say she was a girlfriend. You said something else. Yeah, she was a special figure to him. I didn't see her as being a girlfriend of his. She was she was vaunted above it. In what sense, from what you could see, his respect for her? Told y'all, I was like, it was just a difference. He respected Kim. That was his main person who he respected that wasn't bound to BS. And then the women that was willing to take whatever to be with Diddy and to whatever fantasies to make him feel like he King Kong, them was the ones he made his girlfriend. And you said they had children together, right? Correct. That was the mother of some of his children. Correct. Incredible kids. Say it again. Incredible kids. Thank you. Miss Ventura and Mr. Combs did not have children to your knowledge. Correct. Gina and Mr. Combs did not have children to your knowledge. Correct. Miss Porter and Mr. Combs did. Correct. And when you say she was vaunted above a girlfriend, from what you could see, what you could observe with your own two eyes, tell the jury what you saw that led you to that conclusion. Danielle, you are funny. Have a seat, Danielle. I'll be trying to act tough, but man, she wearing me down. She's so cute. Okay, this is the answer. Mr. Combs always seemed to have an extra gauge of patience with with Miss Porter. Miss Porter seemed to make Mr. Combs really happy, even when he was otherwise not. And again, just the way, and it's not that he was going around treating everybody poorly all the time, but he treated her in a very special manner that just felt different than the way he treated others. Now, I think you said you set up hotel rooms. Actually, I don't know if you did. Did you ever set up hotel rooms for what you understood to be Mr. Combs and Miss Porter? Yes. And when you did that, there was no baby oil, right? No, that's not my recollection. Let me ask you a different thing. Do you remember lotions other than baby oils, like lotions? Yes. Miss Porter and Mr. Combs, there were lotions like over the counter type lotions. I'm really asking if you remember. Yeah, it's coming to me. I remember one time, yes, lotions. But you said you think that there was baby oil too. Yeah, there was always baby oil in the bag, and I always unpacked the whole bag. Got it. I wouldn't have known not to unless somebody said very specifically not to. Meaning, since there was always baby oil in the bag. Hold on one second. Hold on. Let me see what y'all saying. Mhm. Thank you so much. Wayne74 said free daily. Are those baby oil little emojis? You need help, okay? We need to get you some help, some assistance immediately. Mm, 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 mm. Word is Kim got his. Well, Mr. Deal said Puff will lay hands on Kim till one day Kim fall back and cut him with it. Yeah, I heard that, Cynthia, about Kim. Kim kept it moving. That's what Kim did. Kim was like, I'm out. Hey, Lisa. You said he needs to retire. Shoot, he made enough money to retire. Shoot. Oh, man. Very Cherry said throwing apples like those trees in the Wizard of Oz. I'm not doing this with you. Let me get back to my reading. Because apparently, as you guys see, he said a few questions 20 pages ago. All right. And we are a few questions in. We trying to get to Kid Cudi, Agnifilo. I wouldn't have known not to unless somebody said very specifically not to. Meaning, meaning since there was always baby oil in the bag and you always brought the bag to not bring baby oil, someone have to say don't bring baby oil or don't unpack it. Got it. And you talked on direct examination about cleaning up the hotel room afterward. Yes, sir. One thing I want to ask you about, I think you also said, and tell me if this is right, that when Mr. Combs went to these hotel rooms, you yourself would go home for a period of time. Yes, because you weren't working. Correct. So the idea is, tell me if this is right. If Mr. Combs is going out to a business dinner, you're still at work because he's working. Correct. There were two types of like you were either on or you were on call. And so if you were on, you were at the house no matter what was going on. Hotels were generally an on call situation. So I want to know about the difference. So on means you are at the house or at some place doing work, correct? Yeah, yes, correct. So if Mr. Combs had a business meeting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you were on, correct? If Mr. Combs had a business dinner and was going to do work after it, you're on. Correct. If Mr. Combs was having a lunch with the recording executive, you were on. Correct. When Mr. Combs went to these hotels, you weren't on. You were on call. Correct. So he's saying when he was at them hotels, he wasn't even working. Yeah, he was really trying to make sure he separated the business with his personal stuff that he had going on, is what it's looking like. And you understood from your job description this was his personal time. Yes. Now, am I right that from what you could see in these hotel rooms, when you would sometimes tidy them up afterwards, there was baby oil on things and on the floor, correct? Correct. You never saw physical damage to furniture or to the room itself. Not that I recall. I should have asked a better question. Physical damage, meaning chairs, broken lamps, broken things, broken, not things with baby oil in them. Not that I recall. And I think you said yesterday at one point, I think the prosecutor asked, well, how come you cleaned them up, the rooms? How come you didn't let the hotel do it? And I remember your answer. Your answer was sometime you were worried that the hotel would release pictures or release something to embarrass Mr. Combs. Correct. And that was a worry that you had. Absolutely. Because in your experience, well, why was that a worry? Tell the jury why you worried about that. The most important thing at the end of the day for me about this job was doing it well and being recognized for doing it well. And that's all that I cared about. And obviously, in my testimony, you can see how much tunnel vision I had just trying to do a good job and trying to check the box. And this to me was just a continued, example of that, trying to go above and beyond. It's also the type of thing where if you do nothing and nothing happens, fine. But if you do nothing and something happens, I would have had a problem. And so trying to protect myself and my employment as well, and just trying to do what I thought was the right thing. He had a whole lot of for color girl monologues going on in his testimony. So you had some measure of distrust for the hotel staff that they might release something, a large measure. A large measure of distrust for the hotel staff? Mm-hmm. And why did you have this large measure of distrust for the hotel staff? Because money's involved and people want a payday. If they steal security footage, oops, sounded like the hotel, sounded like that Cassie video. If they steal security footage, or if there's a security guard who leaks footage, or any number of permutations that could be like, that would have been severely compromised, and it would have been a terrible look on me. And it's also not what I wanted. I didn't want his reputation to be compromised. He seemed like a good worker. You think that would be unfair? I think that's the way the world works. I mean, you use the word payday to like sell the video or the imagery to a news outlet in exchange for money as a hotel employee. Couple more questions. I'm going to keep saying that. We're almost done. We really are. Somebody look him up. He went to somebody's seminary school. Couple more questions. It's all right. You said at one point the security kind of changed over and they went from sort of having a less professional security staff to more professional security staff. Correct. And when was that? It was 2015. I want to say the spring because we started traveling with the security in the last months that I was working there. And when the more professional staff came on, you understood this was a security company that Mr. Combs hired. Correct. So he essentially outsourced his and his family's and his property security to a company, correct? Yes. And that company made decisions on how to try and keep him and his family and his property safe, right? Yes. And you said that you believe they had license to carry firearms. That was my understanding. And you never saw the security staff, the old security staff or the new security staff with firearms one way or another. The new security staff, I did. The old, I did not. The old did not? Correct. So you never saw them with guns? Correct. You never saw Mr. Combs with the pow pow? No. So the old security staff was D-Rock. Yeah, he was a member. Uncle Paulie? Yes, sir. Let me just stop on Uncle Paulie for a second. Let me go through everybody. There's D-Rock, Uncle Paulie. Who else do you remember? Ruby. Okay, anybody else? No. When you saw Mr. Combs throwing apples at Gina, did you tell security about it? I don't remember. So you have no recollection of telling anybody in security about the apples? No. I want to show you a couple of photographs. We're going to start with Defense Exhibit 406 for identification. And then they show it. Do you see it? Yeah, I see it. And do you recognize who's in that photograph? Yes, sir. Who's that? Miss Porter and her friend. So then they went to offer it. They put it up for the jury. Miss Porter is the woman on the second horse, on the whiter horse. Correct. She's in the back. And you sent this soon after Mr. Porter passed away, a couple of days, in fact, okay? And what you write is P. No possible words right now. Right now. Sorry. So not going to reach, but I am so sorry and sending all of my condolences. My thoughts are with you and the kids, wishing you immense strength. Please hang in there. Love you. Yes. You sent him this after Miss Porter passed away. Yes. Because of why? I was heartbroken for him. And I think you said that in addition to this occasion, you stayed in touch with him through the years. Yes. If things happen in your life, sometimes you'll send him a text and say, this happened to me. Yeah, I invited him to my wedding. I did not hear back and told him when I had a baby. I think what you said when Miss Comey was asking you questions is you have and had great respect for him. Yes. You still do? Yes. What you saw him do offended you, correct? Yes, it did. It offended you so much it made you leave your dream job. Yeah, it shook me tremendously. And yet you still, as you sit here today on the witness stand of this trial, you have respect for him. Yeah, I say that it's a complicated relationship at this point. I think I have a lot of complicated relationships in my life, and I think this perhaps fall into that bucket. And based on what you know, what you saw, what your experience was with him, that's why you have respect for him. Correct. Yeah, the way the time we spent together, the things that he taught me, and the way that I observed him in most cases. Yes. I want to show you yet another photograph. I'm sure you do, Agnifilo, because your two questions mean 2 times 100. If I walk back to that table, I'm going to have another question for you every time. I'm going to ask that the witness be shown Exhibit 404. This is a text exchange between you and Mr. Combs and KK. Do you see that? It will be on the page on the left. Yep. And that's a photograph there, right? Yes. Who's in the photograph? Christina Coram and Mr. Combs. And who else? Myself. They offer it in as the exhibit. They showed the jury. KK is the woman on the right. Mr. Combs in the middle. You on the left, yeah. He's like, she's on the left. I'm on the right, but yeah. Any idea where you are? We're at Teterboro Airport. This is the day that Mr. Combs got his private jet. That he actually got the private jet? Correct. That's what the champagne was for. Got it. So tell me if this is right. It was a difficult job, right? Right. You saw things that offended you. Right? Right. You had a lot of fun, right? No, that is not right. No, I wouldn't say that. You're having fun there. Is that what you see on that facial expression? See, Agnifilo is doing too much. You could have cut this back. When you got him to basically say that was personal when he was up in that hotel room, he separates his businesses. Like you didn't hit the point. He liked working there. He was a great businessman. You hit all the points that matter for this Rico, and these just he ain't seen no sexual abuse. He never heard about it, so that wasn't an issue. Move on. You're doing too much. Fair enough. Okay, so anyway, he said, I'm not sure. What do you see on your facial expression? I see a kid who, thank God, found the mascara in the back seat of that car. Somebody mascara was missing. Fair enough. And you learned a lot, right? See, this is what you asking questions you don't know the answer to. I learned an incredible amount. You said that he's not only showed you kind of like all you can be, he showed you things you didn't even know you could be, right? We heard that already, Agnifilo. Yes, that is correct. And you didn't want to come here today, right? I desperately did not want to come here today because you have nothing against Sean Combs, right? Correct. And you are here and you tell me if this is right. Do you feel like you were forced to be here? I was subpoenaed to be here. You could not say no. Correct. And so you would rather not be testifying at this point. Right. 100%. And you are here because the government subpoenaed you, right? That's what he said. Correct. You never reached out to the government to say, I have information about Sean Combs that I'm dying to give you folks, right? Absolutely not. They found you. Correct. Once they found you, they were going to put you on that stand, right? Yeah, I was hosed. I had to retain counsel immediately. I have no further questions. Thank you very much. So the government is doing redirect briefly, but they don't know what briefly is, okay? You said they need to hand the witness a tissue. Yes, you know what? That's what shapey. Wayne 704 say, no, ma'am, no need to rush when you can turn a prosecutor witness to a defense. He already did that. So you don't want to lose a jury. You're talking about sitting there for 6, 7, 8 hours. So you need to hit points, get what you got to do. See what I'm saying? That this is what I'm saying. I've literally watched jurors where you like, dang, juror number 5 over there, like. So they're going to start missing some stuff. So you got to be very, very strategic with that. So let me see if I missed anything. Sexy RN, what? This is what I'm saying about jurors. You never know what people are thinking. I did not get that out of that conversation. Wayne said, young man still has love and respect for Pop Pop. Thank you for the super chat. Look, Okay, a few of y'all saying that. What's that Asian model name who was Kim friend and always hinting about Russell being not understand what she been saying all the time? Yeah, that was Kimura. All right. Hopefully they're not that long-winded. You said this case is ghetto. Really, Quintavious? Huh? This is redirect. So now the government comes back. Mr. Kaplan, do you remember being asked on cross examination about the incident you observed on the plane involving Mr. Combs being violent towards Cassie? Yes. And you testified on cross examination just now that what you saw more generally shook you tremendously. I want to understand which incidents you're referring to what shook you tremendously, that plane incident and the Apple incident. Let's talk about both of those. Again, the plane incident. You testified on cross examination that you did not observe Cassie have any injuries as a result. Do you remember that? I didn't like that question either. I ain't like him saying you didn't observe no injury. It don't matter. He was throwing stuff at her. It don't matter if he hit her, didn't hit her, missed, barely missed. She was blocking herself. Whatever. Hit her dead in her forehead. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is you were acting violent towards her. That therein lies the problem. So to try to minimize it by saying, well, you ain't see no injuries. And she went to go to a party. So even if she did have them, she could have had makeup because we got the makeup artist that's going to come on and talk about covering stuff up. So I just thought that part could have been left off. But you know, I ain't his defense attorney. So he ain't paid me $2. All right. All right. So the question is, the plane incident, you testified on cross-examination that you did not observe Cassie have any injuries as a result. Do you remember that? Correct. Why did this incident shake you tremendously if you did not see Cassie suffer any injuries? Because in my heart of hearts, I told myself I knew what was happening, and I also definitely felt an element of guilt to not be stopping it. Why did you think you needed to stop it if she wasn't having visible injuries? Because people can be injured all the time without the injuries being visible. Duh. That's why I did not like that question, Agnifilo. And then the Apple incident, I believe you testified on cross-examination that you did not see any of the apples hit Gina. Do you remember that? Correct. The government was smart to come back on these questions because I would have. This is what I'm talking about. He's up there too long and he's getting comfortable and he's saying questions that just should not be happening right now. Why did that incident shake you tremendously if none of the apples hit Gina? The tension and anger in the room was scary, and I never seen or been a part of anything like this. I was naive enough to think that these were like hyperbolized moments that happen in bad movies or something. So I was really taken aback, and it took me a while to process. What was scary about it? The tonality, the tension, the fact that it was happening at all. And finally, do you remember being asked about the conversation you had the next day with Christina Coram? Yes. Did you tell her about both of these incidents during that conversation? No. Which incident did you tell her about? The green apple incident. And earlier, had you told her about the incident on the jet? Yes. And did you tell her that? Well, what did you tell her about why you had decided to quit working for Mr. Combs during that conversation? I think the word I used were that I was unwilling to stand by the behavior. What behavior were you talking about in the context of that conversation with Christina? The green apples and the airplane incident? Did you tell Christina you were going to quit because of that? Yes. Did Christina say she was going to quit too? No. See, they're trying to show that Christina knew all about this stuff and she was helping to, she knew what was going on, and they're making it seem like she was the head honcho. She's in a lot of these civil lawsuits, or at least a few of them, against Diddy. They've added her on as being the assistant as if she was somehow aiding and abetting. So this is what the government is trying to pull on. Like, you said you was going to quit because you didn't like the behavior, but Christina says she's going to keep her job. As far as you know, How long did Christina stay working for Mr. Combs after you told her about these two incidents that shook you tremendously? I haven't spoken to her in a while, but my understanding was that she was working for him up until pretty recently. Like, she still worked for him. What you talking about? No further question. Thank you, Mr. Agnifilo. I don't. So that was the end of Kaplan's testimony. What do you guys think? Anybody have any thoughts before we get into the get into? Thank you, Katrina, for the Cash App. I appreciate it. And what's illegal about that? What is, I said that before. It's just a hard time not saying that was his personal life and his personal relationship. And honestly, it looks like even though this was a government witness who did like solidify the violence, we know that already on her. I think we've heard it a number of times. I think the jury believes she was being, physically abused, but I think it was proven to be like in his personal life. Even when they set up the freak offs, it was a personal thing. He knew it wasn't a part of his job. He wasn't even on duty. He was just on call. If I need you to come in, be ready, but you're not working right now. You're off the clock. So that wasn't happening while he was working there. But like I said, Agnifilo trying to minimize it, like, you didn't see no injuries. Like, what was the point of that question? Why did you ask that? I didn't get that. And then to say you didn't actually, you seen him throwing, practicing his arm for baseball with the apples, but you didn't see him actually land, right? You didn't actually, you didn't see that, did you? No, I didn't. That, like, it takes away from the fact that you saw this man throwing apples at somebody's head. Like, I don't know. I don't know if this guy did. I think he may have too. I think both of them may have. I'm not sure. Yeah, KK Scorpio said he's acknowledging that and he was a businessman. This is the thing. When the whole RICO statute was organized, and they added this is why they're doing a conspiracy as well, because it's easier to prove than it is for just the regular RICO. But when the RICO statute was first created, the point was you had mobsters and gangsters who would get laundromats and car washes, and y'all know where the hangout spots were when you were a kid, and they would use them to gamble, sell drugs, have money coming through, laundering money. And so basically the legit business that looked legit was really not legit. It was a way to have to say there's a business so that you can really do illegal activities. So that was the origination of it. So the conspiracy portion of the statute that they did it under is a little less stringent, but you still have to kind of the DV we know is a crime. We know we're gonna get into the Kid Cudi on the predicate acts. That was one of the predicate acts. But a lot of this sounds like his personal life. And what they're trying to do is connect and say, this wasn't his personal life, almost like this was a part of what he did. He had multiple businesses, and we can't say his businesses were not successful. Like, who did not have Ciroc? Who did not buy Sean John? Like, it wasn't like, who was not trying to be an artist on Bad Boy? And Sean Sean Combs or Enterprises or whatever Combs Enterprise Holding had all his companies under it. And he just named Revolt. He named all these different companies. And we know, like, legit, he had some companies that really had profits. So I don't know. He purchased items from CVS to dress wounds on his off day using his business card. Well, he testified that Combs didn't know where it came from. So Christina Coram, this is why that testimony came out. Christina Coram had a black card and actually carried his wallet. So whenever he had personal items, they would use that, or they'll go to Western Union, I guess, and he would get money. When he would ask this man for stuff, he said if he was by himself, he would use his corporate card if he was by himself. But it wasn't like he was directed to use his corporate card. He just, that's why they went through you think he knew where it came from or what card it came from? He's like, no, there's no way he knew. He just said what he wanted, and that's what it was. But it was understood that Christina actually had a card for his personal stuff, and that's what he got it from. This man just testified sometimes he got it, and if he was by himself and wasn't with her where she had the black card or he didn't have the cash on him, he would use his corporate card and then try to however they handled that. So if it was done, it's almost like they're pulling out it wasn't anything that was an ongoing thing, and Diddy wouldn't have known about it. So he's not using the business to fund what he's doing, because that's not what he's saying. Like, he was trying to separate it from his personal, and that's what they were able to pull out as the defense. I think he was pretty helpful to them when it came to that and separating personal and business. But obviously, it also made Diddy look bad with the whole domestic violence. But I mean, we've seen that so many times. I don't think there's not one juror that believes he didn't beat her. He didn't beat her. Like, what juror thinks that right now? I'm sure, because you know what? It's almost like they're trying to make her, and this is what they tried to paint her picture as. And again, I'm not saying this, Christina KK, but they're making her as a Ghislaine Maxwell like was to Epstein. That's what they're trying to paint her. They're trying to paint her like that in a lot of those lawsuits. Is it to that level with Ghislaine, who was like going to recruit the girls and all of that type stuff? I ain't seeing that. It sounds like she just, they're trying to say she covered up a lot of his crimes, is what they're trying to say. So that's what they're trying to paint her as. Whether they've made it to that level, I don't know. That's what they're like, you said you wanted to leave, but did Christina Coram say she wanted to leave? No, she didn't. She didn't say that. So that's what they're trying to do. Yes, Cassie was signed to the label, but she was also his girlfriend. So you can't say like, oh, because he was, if that's the case, then I mean, Kim wasn't signed to his label, and that was his woman, I guess. That's how it was portrayed. Then you had Gina. I don't know what she did. But yeah, Cassie was signed to his label. But when you look at the emails, Cassie was also the pursuer of the relationship as well, because he told her he thought she was sneaky and he didn't trust her in one of them emails that we went over. That's an exhibit. So it didn't start out that way. When he signed her and they made the deal, they were not together when that happened. He didn't get with her for a couple of years after she signed. So yeah, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. You said, are we far away from Attorney Moreland asking for a mistrial? 2 more weeks. She about to hit one, and Brian Steele. They will ask for a mistrial in a minute. Is KK gonna testify? That's a good question. That's a good question. So Capricorn is Lauren London's sister, I think. Remember, Lauren London and Cassie were like best friends, or really close. And Capricorn, I guess, was an assistant to Diddy, or she worked for Diddy too, but she's Lauren London's sister. Yeah, he wasn't paid to be on call. I mean, when he was on call, he didn't get paid. He could do what he wanted to do. He just had to be available, I guess. All right, y'all. Let's get into Kid Cudi. All right. If y'all aggravated that it took so long, blame Agnifilo. Okay, and I skipped over some of his stuff. Let's see. The government called Scott Mescudi. You seen him walking up there today? He was like, he smoked that cigarette all the way till he got to the door. He was stressed. Okay, he smoked that cigarette all the way till they said you can't smoke it here, Mr. Miss Cudi. So he comes up. Can you please give the court reporter your first and last name and spell your name for the record? Scott Mescudi, Scottmescudi. Thank you, Your Honor. Direct examination. Good morning, Mr. Mescudi. Hi. You know he ain't want to be there. What do you do for work? I'm an actor and musician. Are you known by any other names? Kid Cudi. Miss Foster, could you please pull up what's in the evidence as Government Exhibit 2A401? Mr. Mescudi, do you recognize who's depicted in Government Exhibit 2A41? Yes. Who is that? Cassie Ventura. Do you know Miss Ventura? Yes. How do you know Miss Ventura? We are friends and we dated briefly. How did you first meet Miss Ventura? Just at an event in New York years ago, around like 2008. Did you ever collaborate professionally with Miss Ventura? Yeah, we worked on some music together. You also mentioned you dated briefly. Approximately when did you date Miss Ventura? 2011. You can take that down, Miss Foster. Mr. Miss Cudi, who else, if you know, was Miss Ventura involved romantically with around the time that you were dating her in 2011? Sean Combs. You probably want to be like this ninja over there at that table. That guy. Miss Foster, could you please pull up what in evidence is Government Exhibit 2A101? Mr. Miss Cudi, do you recognize who's depicted in Government Exhibit 2A101? Yes. Who's that? Sean Combs. Is that the same Sean Combs who was romantically involved with Miss Ventura? Yes. You can take that down. Mr. Miss Cudi, when you first were dating Miss Ventura, what, if anything, did you know about the status of their relationship with Mr. Combs? When we first started dating, you mean? Yeah, when you first started dating. That she and Sean Combs had some problems and they weren't dating anymore. Did you understand if the nature of their relationship ever changed? Did the what now? Did you understand that the status of the relationship ever changed after she told me? Yes. No, not that I knew of. They put up another exhibit. Do you recognize Mr. Miss Cudi, who is depicted in this exhibit? Yes. Who is that? Capricorn. And how do you know Capricorn? She's a friend of Cassie. I want to direct your attention to December of 2011. They getting straight to the straight no chaser. Did there come a time when law enforcement responded to your home in December of 2011? Yes. Why did law enforcement respond in December 2011? Because I had a break-in. I like to start at the beginning of the day of the break-in. How did that day start? Well, I got a call from Cassie around 5:30, 6 o'clock a.m., and she told me that Sean Combs had found out about us. I was really confused, but she asked me to pick her up. She sounded really stressed on the phone, nervous, scared. So I went to go pick her up, and yeah. A few follow-up questions for you. When Miss Ventura said that Mr. Combs had found out about you, as you just said, what was your understanding of what Miss Ventura was saying? Objection. Overruled. You can answer. Repeat the question. Sure. You testified that Miss Ventura told you Mr. Combs found out about us. What was your understanding of what Mr. Combs had found out? That me and her were dating. And you also testified that you were confused when you heard that. Yes. And why were you confused? Because I didn't think she was still dealing with him. And you mentioned that you went to pick her up. Is that right? Yeah. Why did you go pick her up? She wanted me to come pick her up. And she was also worried about that he would come to my house because he asked for my address and she gave it to him. When you picked her up, could you please describe for the jury Miss Ventura's demeanor? Very stressed, nervous, just scared. Didn't know what Sean Combs would do. Prior to the phone call you received that you just testified about, had you and Miss Ventura previously discussed the nature of her relationship with Mr. Combs? Yeah, about like if they were still hanging out or if she had seen him or just meaning in general. Let me be a little bit more specific. What, if anything, had Miss Ventura previously told you about Mr. Combs being physical with her? That he was abusive? Same objection. It was sustained. After you picked up Miss Ventura, where did you go? I took her to the Sunset Marquis. What's the Sunset Marquis? It's a hotel in Los Angeles. Why did you go to the Sunset Marquis after you picked her up? Miss Ventura. I used to frequent the Sunset Marquis and I just thought it was safe and just wanted to put her somewhere where she was off the radar. When you say safe, what do you mean by that? Just safe away from him. When you and Miss Ventura were at the Sunset Marquis, who else, if anyone, did you speak to while you were at the hotel? Capricorn. So before we talk about the substance of that communication, I have a couple of questions. Okay. Have you spoken to Capricorn before this morning? Yes. How often had you spoken to Capricorn on previous occasions? Quite often. She hung out with me and Cassie a lot. On the morning when you were at the Sunset Marquis, how did you speak to Capricorn? On speakerphone. Who else was present, if anyone? Cassie. And can you describe how Capricorn's voice sounded on the phone call that you and Miss Ventura had with her at the Sunset Marquis? She was very scared. Sounded like she was on the verge of tears. What, if anything, did Capricorn say to you and Miss Ventura on the phone call about what was happening at that moment for her? Objection, Your Honor. That's overruled. You can answer that Sean Combs and an affiliate were in my house and she was in the car and she was forced to go along with them over there. And what, if anything, did Miss Capricorn say about where she was at that moment? She was in a car outside of my house waiting for them. And what, if anything, did Capricorn say about where Mr. Combs was in that moment? Asked and sorry, objection, overruled. In my house. After you spoke to Capricorn, what did you do next? I got in my car and went to my house. Did anyone go with you when you went to your house after that phone call? No. He's like, he was about that life. He went riding out by himself, solo. So then they asked to put up another exhibit. Mr. Miss Cudi, did you recognize what's depicted in this exhibit? Yes. What is it? It's the front door of my old house. And is this the house you drove to after receiving the phone call from Miss Clark? Yes. The government offers Government Exhibit 8C-102. There's no opposition. They published it for the jury. Mr. Miss Cudi, what was the address where you were living at the time? It was in Hollywood Hills. And you mentioned that this was, just so I'm clear, you mentioned that this door we see in the photograph, is this the front gate door or is this the door to the residence? This is the front gate door. The front gate door. Is there an additional door to the residence? Yes. So they took it down. How would you describe the neighborhood in the Hollywood Hills Road is located in? Quiet, family oriented. And approximately how long was the drive from the Sunset Marquis Hotel to your home on Hollywood Hills? Maybe like 12, 15 minutes. And in December 2011, what kind of car did you drive? A Porsche 911. Was that the car you were driving that evening? Yes. While you were on the drive from the hotel to your home, what, if anything, did you do? I called Sean Combs. How did you have Sean Combs' phone number? I just had it from years ago. Did Mr. Combs pick up your call? Yes. Can you describe the conversation that you had with Mr. Combs on the drive to your home? Yeah, I'm going to be very candid. I said, Mother effer, you in my house? And he was like, what's up? I was like, Mother effer, are you in my house? And he said, I just want to talk to you. I was like, I'm on my way over right now. He was like, I'm here. I'm sorry. I didn't hear that last bit after you said, I want to talk to you. What did Mr. Combs respond with? No, he said he wants to talk to me. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. And I said, I'm on my way over to my house right now. And he's like, I'm over here waiting for you. When Mr. Combs said, I'm over here waiting for you, what was your understanding of where Mr. Combs was located? At my house. What was Mr. Combs' tone of voice during that phone call? Calm. When you arrived at your house, focusing first on the outside of your house, what did the outside look like? Pretty normal. Was there any security cameras at your residence at that time? Yes. Were those security cameras working that evening? They weren't. I thought they were working, but they weren't. You found out later that they weren't working? Yeah. Where were the security cameras positioned on the exterior of the house? To the side, like somebody moved it out the way. When you say someone moved it out the way, can you explain what you mean by that? Like the camera was angled down at the door originally and it was moved to an opposite angle. And when did you discover the camera had been moved to a different angle? Once I got to the house. And was the camera at a different angle earlier before the break in? Yes. Had you moved the security camera at all? No. I want to focus now on the inside of your home. When you went inside, was anyone inside your home? No. What did you see inside your house? Some gifts that I bought for my family were open, some stuff I got from Chanel, and then my dog was locked up in my bathroom. So, taking those one at a time, where were the gifts that were open? On the kitchen counter. What type of gifts were those? I can't remember exactly what specifically, but it was stuff from Chanel. And you mentioned that your dog was locked up in the bathroom. Is that right? Yes. How did you typically allow your dog to stay in your home when you weren't present? I just let him roam. Had you shut the door to the bathroom before you left? No. Before the break in, how long had you had your dog? I think by the time maybe 3 years. And I want to focus on the immediate aftermath of the break in right after. What, if any, changes in behavior did you notice in your dog after the break in? Very jittery and kind of on edge all the time. I want to focus on what you did next. After you got to your home, what did you do after that? I got in the car, and that's when I called Sean Combs. So you got back in your car after you went to your home. Yeah. Were you still alone in your car? Yeah. And you mentioned you called Mr. Combs again. Yeah. Why did you call Mr. Combs again? Because I was looking for him. Why were you looking for him? Because I wanted to confront him. I wanted to fight him. He said, I wanted to give him these hands. He wanted to give him them hands. Queen Brielle said, Pam, can you place transcripts back on the screen? Yes. Sorry about that, y'all. Okay, wait a minute. Is that better? I don't know how I blinked off. Okay. Why were you looking for him? Because I wanted to confront him. I wanted to fight him, you know. Did you call Mr. Combs? Yeah. Did he answer? Yes. Can you describe that conversation for the jury? I can't remember my exact words, but I was kind of like asking where he was, and he was, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. So at that point, I hung up and I thought to myself, I was like, okay, you're angry. Objection, grounds, non-responsive. That's overruled. Okay, you're angry. Just think about this, you know, like, and I just thought, like, I don't know who he has with him. I don't know what his intentions are. And there was another objection. Why don't we get a fresh question? That's fine. The judge is like, move on, move right along. Caramel Kimmy. That's all I'm gonna say. It's nothing. Silence says a lot. Mr. Miss Cudi, what did you do after that phone call with Sean Combs? I thought about, the reality of the situation, not knowing what I was walking myself into, so I decided to call the police. Can you describe Mr. Combs' tone of voice when you spoke to him on the phone while you were in your car? Calm. Where did you go after you called the police? I went back to my house. When you returned home, was anyone there? Yes. Who was there? The police. Did you speak to the police? Yes. Did you make a report about the break in? Yes. Did you see Miss Ventura later that day? Yes. What was her demeanor like when you saw her later? Stressed. You mentioned this was December of 2011. Is that right? Yes. Where did you spend the Christmas holiday in December 2011? With Cassie's family in Connecticut. What if he just smiled at Diddy like, I spent Christmas with your girl, bro. Where did you stay in Connecticut when you were there for the holidays? At her family's house. Can you generally describe Miss Ventura's demeanor when you were in Connecticut for the holidays with her family? I think being around her family really did a lot for her at that time. She really needed it. While you were away in Connecticut, did you have any additional communications with Mr. Combs? Yes, he had hit me a couple of times. When you say he hit you, what do you mean by that? Oh, he texted me. Did he text you? You said a couple of times. How frequently did Mr. Combs text you? It wasn't every day. It kind of stopped at some point when I responded to him and told him I didn't want to talk to him. His text messages were always along the lines of him wanting to speak, just get to the bottom of it. When you say get to the bottom of it, what are you talking about? Just figure out what's going on, I guess. He was in the dark about things and wanted to talk. But at that point, post break in, I didn't want to talk to him. Did you respond to Mr. Combs' text? Yeah, I told him, specifically told him, you broke into my house. You messed with my dog. Like, I don't want to talk to you. When did you leave Connecticut? A little bit before New Year's. By January 2012, after New Year's, what was the status of your relationship with Miss Ventura? We weren't really hanging out. Why was that? I guess. Objection. Can you rephrase the question? Sure. You said you weren't really hanging out with Miss Ventura. No. Did the relationship end? Yeah. Directing your attention to January of 2012, did there come a time when you learned that your car had caught on fire? Yes. How did you learn that your car had caught on fire? My dog's babysitter called me in the morning. Approximately what time did you receive that phone call? 6:30, 7 a.m. What was your understanding of where your dog's babysitter was located when she called you? At my house. Was it your understanding that your dog's babysitter was telling you what was happening in real time? Yes. And what did your dog's babysitter say to you about what she saw? She told me my car was on fire. Was anyone else present at your house at that time? No. Where were you? I was at my ex-girlfriend's sister's house. Kid Cudi was out here. He was for the streets too. Okay. He was at his ex-girlfriend's sister's house. Approximately how far away from your house were you? Like 45 minutes or something like that. Where was your car at the time your babysitter called? In the driveway. Was it in the driveway at the same home on Hollywood Hills Road? Yes. After received this phone call from your dog's babysitter, what did you do? I immediately went to my house. So then they pull up these exhibits, probably the ones that I got on my thumbnail. I'm going to show you 6 total pictures, Mr. Miss Cudi. Uh-huh. Do you recognize what's depicted in these pictures? Yeah. What is it? My Porsche. He probably looked at Diddy like, my Porsche. So then they pull up some more exhibit. Do you recognize what's depicted in these photos, Mr. Miss Cudi? Yes. What is it? The damage from a Molotov cocktail in my Porsche. Is this your car? Huh? This is your car. Yes. So then they pull up another exhibit, two different exhibits. Mr. and Miss Cudi, do you recognize what's depicted in those photographs? Yes. Is that your car? Yes. The government offers all these exhibits. It's no objection. They publish them. While I was on my, then he said, Mr. and Miss Cudi, when did you receive these photos? While I was on my way home. Who sent you these photos to you? My friend Chip. Who is Chip? He's a good friend and collaborator. Why did Chip send you photographs of your car? He was closer to my house and I wanted to see the damage that had been done. Did you ask Chip to go take photos for you? Yes. So I want to focus on these two photographs. First, the one on the left. Can you describe what's depicted in the photograph on the left? It looks like the top of my Porsche was cut open, and that's where they inserted the cocktail. And the photograph on the right, from what angle is that photograph taken? It looks like that's from the passenger side looking up at the roof. On the right side of the photograph, what is the hole? Is that the same hole in the roof you can see on the photograph? Did you guys see these photographs? Anybody see the photographs that they're talking about? Okay, I'm about to put it up real quick. Hold on. All right, so this is, it's on the thumbnail too. Why is it not even coming on in this gallery? So this is the inside of the car. This is the fire damage. This is the inside. This is from the top when they say it was a hole cut in the top. That's the top of the car. So those were entered in the exhibits on today. You said, didn't the roof cut? That's what they say. Let me put this back up. All righty. So he's looking at those pictures right there. And he's saying, they asked him what they are. So he said, that's the door to the driver's side, smoke damage. Then what is depicted in the photograph on the right? That's the hole in the roof. So then they put more up. What's depicted in these two images? The damage to the driver's side. You mentioned the Molotov cocktail earlier. Yeah. What is a Molotov cocktail to your understanding? It's, would you say explosive or something like that? I guess it's a bottle with some type of like inflammatory liquid inside and a cloth that you light and fire and it ignites. Did you eventually get to your home on the day of the car fire? Yeah. What did you see when you arrived home? Just the damage. I saw the cocktail. Yeah. Are these photographs that we just looked at similar to what you saw when you arrived home? Yeah. When you say I saw the Molotov cocktail, what did you see? The bottle, and it was kind of just burnt up. Was any law enforcement present when you arrived here to your home? Yes. Did you speak to law enforcement that day? Yes. Did you make a report? Yes. With respect to your car, was your car able to be repaired after the fire? No. And when you said that you saw the bottle for the Molotov cocktail when you returned home, where was that bottle? On the ground. Was it on the ground inside or outside of your vehicle? Outside of the vehicle. Was it near the vehicle? Huh? Where was it in relation to the vehicle? It was near the vehicle. What was your understanding of where the cocktail was found by law enforcement? In the driver's seat. I think you mentioned this, but was your car able to be repaired? Yeah, he did mention that. No. What was your reaction to your car being set on fire? What the fudge? But he said the word on the bench. Judge, and then Brian still said objection. Judge overruled it. So then they say they're going to take a 5-minute break whenever they're ready in the next couple of minutes. They're about to move on to a different topic. So they take a short break. Let's continue. Break over. Mr. Cudi, before we took the break, we were talking about the day your car was set on fire. Do you remember that? Like, how can I forget? I mean, yes. Just 2 additional questions about that day. Miss Foster, could you please pull up what another exhibit? Mr. Cudi, was the damage depicted in the government's exhibit 3F105 present on your vehicle before you got the call from the dog sitter you described earlier? I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I'll strike that question. The last time you saw your car prior to the phone call you got from the dog sitter, did your car look like that? No. What was your understanding of whether this was accidental or intentional? Oh, it was intentional. Mr. Cudi, did the door of your car look like this before you got the call from your dog sitter that there was a fire in your car? No. Was it your understanding that this damage was accidental or intentional? Intentional. When was the last time you saw Miss Ventura? 2012. Where did you see her? At Soho House. When did you see Miss Ventura at the Soho House relative to the day your car was on fire? Couple of days later. Why were you at the Soho House? I reached out to Sean Combs after my car had caught on fire and, finally told him that we needed to meet up to talk. He had been wanting to talk to me. So after the fire, I was like, this is getting out of hand. I need to talk to this guy because he is fooling. Why was it, Mr. Combs, you reached out to after the fire? Because I knew he had something to do with it. So then they had a sidebar. Is there an objection? Judge said, yeah, and it was sustained. The jury should disregard the last answer. So when he said, because I knew he had something to do with it, the jury is not supposed to consider that when they deliberate. But you can't unring a bell, Okay. Mr. Cudi, who, if anyone, helped arrange the meeting at the Soho House? This man named D-Rock and my manager, Dennis Cummins. Who is D-Rock, if you know? I don't know exactly what he does for Mr. Combs, but I guess he was like security or somebody. Do you have an understanding that he worked for Mr. Combs? Yes. Where at Soho House was the meeting held? It was held. The rooms are not there anymore, but they used to have like meeting rooms on the first floor. In which city was the meeting held? Hollywood. In Los Angeles? Yeah. Can you describe what happened when you arrived at the Soho House? Yeah. I walked in. I met D-Rock. He was escorting me into the room. And when I got to the room, he was one wall, was all window, and Sean Combs was standing there staring out the window with his hand behind his back like a Marvel supervillain. Yeah, it was just me and him in the room. No security, nobody. Was Miss Ventura present when you initially arrived at the meeting? No. What happened when it was just you and Mr. Combs in the room at the Soho House? We discussed, pretty much the whole story about how me and Cassie first started the date, to what it was to how it ended. And his whole point was, we were homies. That's my girl. I let him know that, she told me they were broken up and I took her word for it. Yeah. What was Mr. Combs' demeanor during this meeting? Very calm. He kept offering me water. He offered me water twice. What was reaction to his demeanor? It was very off-putting. It was weird that he was so calm. You mentioned that Miss Ventura wasn't present when you first arrived. No. Did that change? Yes, she eventually came. And how did you react when Miss Ventura arrived? I was upset to find out that she had kind of went back to him. What did Miss Ventura do when she arrived? She pretty much kind of explained that we fell in love and things just happened, and I believe you testified to this earlier, but how soon was the meeting at the Soho House in relation to the day your car was on fire? I think it was like the next day. At the time, did you have conflicts with anyone else? No. Can you describe how the meeting with Mr. Combs ended at the Soho House? Yeah. We stood up, we shook hands. As I was shaking his hand, I said, "What are we going to do about my car?" I made sure to ask him right when our hands were clasped together, where he couldn't run away and I could look at him square in his eyes. And he looked right back at me, very cold stare, and he said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Okay." I took my hand from his. He said, "Wait, I thought we were cool. Is there a problem?" I was like, "You said you didn't burn my car, right? You said that's your word." He said, "Yeah." I was like, "That's it." When Mr. Combs looked at you and said, "I don't know what you're talking about," when you asked about your car, what was your tone of voice? Very calm. After this meeting, were there any other break-ins at your home? No. And after this meeting, was your car ever set on fire again? What type of question is that? Like that's an everyday occurrence. No. Have you seen Mr. Combs since that Soho House meeting? Yes. Approximately when did you next see Mr. Combs? Couple of years later at the Soho House again. Can you describe what happened when you saw him at the Soho House a few years later? Yeah, he was with his daughter and he pulled me to the side and basically apologized for everything. He said, and I quote, "Man, I just want to apologize for everything and all that BS." Between the break-in and the car fire and Mr. Combs' apology a few years later, did you have any other conflicts with Mr. Combs in that interim time period? No. After I got the apology, I kind of found peace with it because I thought, that was the last thing I was expecting to get from him. Your Honor, may I have a moment? She's conferring with the other AUSA. They told her, "Girl, you did good. It's cool. You ain't got nothing else you need to do." And she was like, "No further questions." Anything else? What did they use on that car roof asking for a free? I don't know. Yeah, he apologized, but I mean, he ain't apologized for burning the car. He could apologize just for being the jerk he was acting like during that time. So that can go all different ways on what the apology was for. Puff showing love, brother love. All right, Wayne, that's your homeboy. I see. All of these men were afraid of Diddler. I don't know. He seemed like he was like, "I want to meet with you. We need to talk." Like he met him in the room by himself. I don't know. He wasn't Kid Cudi wasn't showing that he was a little, he was a punk now. Diddy looked him in the eyes and lied. Cassie took Cudi home to see Mama. He thought he was in. He did. He was like, "Yeah, we had matching pajamas. She felt so at home. I stayed there till right before New Year's. Opened a couple of gifts. I was calling her mama. Okay, I'm adding it to the story, but he did think, when they take you home to the mama, it's something special. He wasn't sprung enough to put his hands or feet on Diddler. Diddy's calmness was I'm trying to intimidate. KK Scorpio. Nah, he wasn't. When people are mad and they're angry, you know how to respond to it. I think he tries to not let you know what he's thinking. So you really don't know. Like, is he really mad or is he okay? He was trying to give the unknown. Cassie using Cudi to irritate Diddy. That's what it was sounding like. Cause she got right back with him. He was like, I was pissed off when I seen her come in the door. Like, I done got my house broken into, my dog in there. When I came home, cold leave, my doggone car's rotisserie, all because I wanted to kick it with you for 90 days. Like, man, bro. And you got the nerve to still be with this cat? He was like, man, I can't believe this. You said he had the poor dude whooped. Listen. Yeah, no, Cassie said that. Cassie said something about bipolar. You said, or he truly ain't give a that calmness is the Scorpio movement. We come when we may. That's when you need to worry, man. Listen, like, you too quiet. Power dynamic. Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate it. All right, y'all ready for the cross? Y'all ready for Brian Steele to see if he steal the show? You see what I did there? Y'all see what I did there? All right, let's go see what Brian talking about. I want to, Brian Steele be real calm. I want to ask you some questions about your Porsche, okay? I can't talk as slow as up because we're going to be here all day. Yes. So if you remember, it's January 9th of 2022. Does that sound right? 2012. What did I say? You said 2022. Oh, I apologize. 2012. Yeah. Sound right? Yeah. And you are with your former girlfriend the night before at her sister's house, fair to say? Yeah. And you got a phone call alerting you that there has been serious damage to your vehicle. Yes. And are there any surveillance photographs at that time? No. And law enforcement was called, correct? Yes. Fire department also came. Do you remember that? Yes. My dog's babysitter did send me some pictures of the damage. You know that fingerprints were taken, true? Yes. And you understood that fingerprints were in 2012, right? Yes. You knew that DNA was collected, true? Yes. You know that DNA comes back to a female, right? You said what now? The DNA comes back to a female. Objection, grounds, hearsay, speculation, foundation. Basically, he asked the question and not even in the evidence. The court said, Mr. Steele, maybe you can ask some more questions. Sure. But everybody heard that already. Are you aware that DNA was collected from your vehicle? Yes. And you kept in touch as much as you could about this incident, fair to say? Yes. I reached out to the police department a couple of times. And were you aware that the results came back from the DNA, that it came to a female? That's my question. Same objection, sustained. So basically, you got to erase that question. Do you know that there were results from the DNA? Objection overruled. I tried to reach out to the police. I didn't hear any follow-up about any of the fingerprints or anything. No eyewitness that put Sean Combs near or around the property on or about January 9, 2012. Fair to say? Yeah. And no eyewitness or other evidence that anybody affiliated with Mr. Sean Combs was on or around your property on January 9, 2012. Is that true? They sustained it. You don't have any information, do you? You personally, that anybody affiliated with Mr. Combs was on or around your property at the time of the damage to your vehicle. Is that true? No. So it's January 9th of 2012. But before that date, if you can just lock in, before that date, your relationship with Miss Ventura has ended. Fair to say? Yes. And you knew it ended because she told you it ended. Fair to say? I don't know if she told me it ended. We just stopped talking. And you and Miss Ventura had been talking every day for about a year. Is that true? For the most part. And when I say every day, I'm not saying it was to be just on the phone, it could be in person, text, but you were in close communication with her, right? Yes. And that's why it was surprising to you, or I think your word today before this honorable court and the jury, you were very confused to hear that she was dating Sean Combs while dating you, right? Yes. Miss Ventura was not frank with you. True? True. She played you. That was your words, right? Yes. When she played you, she was convincing about that, right? You had no clue? No clue. You were with her a lot, right? Mhm. True? Yes. Now you are a very accomplished artist. I know you're modest, but that's an objectively factual statement. Fair to say? Yes. Yeah, I'm that pop. Yeah, I'm pretty accomplished. I'm not trying to embarrass you. Yeah, he's probably blushing. And you have done incredible things with your career. Fair to say? Yes. And you have a following that is so close to this day of fans. True? Yes. And in 2011, so I'm going back to the year we are talking about. I know we are also talking about 2012, but it goes into 2011, 2012. You did a nationwide, actually an international Canada 2 tour. Do you remember that? Yeah, I think I did. Yeah. Called I Believe, and you tell me if I'm wrong. You got to tell the jurors Cud Life Tour. You remember that? Yes. You are doing approximately, I'm not saying it's 100%, approximately, if you remember, a concert in a different city than Los Angeles every week. You had 65 different places that you visited. Does that sound right? I don't know if it was 65, but yeah, you were the act. You were the lead. It wasn't like you just hooked on to somebody else, a bigger artist. True? True. And you were playing at large venues, right? Yes. And in 2011, you also knew you had previously known of Mr. Sean Combs, right? Yes. And you describe in your words, if you don't mind, but he was an icon. Is that at that time? Is that fair to say? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he was an icon. He transcended different types of businesses and art. Is that true? Yeah. He was in fashion, right? Yes. Music? Yes. Not only performed, but he produced, right? Right. He made other people tremendously popular or tried, right? Right. There was an objection that was overruled. And he was in other types of businesses, including liquor and other international ventures. You know all this, right? Somewhat. I didn't know all his business dealings. When Mr. Combs was with you at one event after one of your concerts in 2011, he actually asked you if you would do him a favor and do a song with Miss Ventura. Is that true? Do you remember that? Vaguely, yeah. Like vaguely. I only remember my car being blown up and them coming into in my house. I don't remember much about anything else. And you graciously agreed. They like that word graciously. Right. You were in the studio doing your art with Miss Ventura. Is that true? Yes. And that's how you guys really became close, right? We were cool before. And this didn't hurt your relationship, right? It was nice. You enjoyed the time with her, true? Yeah, it was truly just friends at that time. Mr. Combs wasn't around you and Miss Ventura when you were with her, right? No. And she wasn't getting all these text messages from him to your knowledge when you were with her, right? Not to my knowledge. You two were locked in. You two were focused on each other. You had a great relationship, is my point. Is that true? Yes. And you did things like you exercised together, right? Exercise together? Yeah, you were hiking. Nah, I don't remember going hiking. He like, you got me mixed up with her husband. Like, exercising? Nah. That wasn't me, partner. Watch movies? Yeah, we watch movies or two. Like, yeah, I'll sit back and eat some popcorn, but hiking? Nah. Did music? Yeah. Drugs? Your Honor, we can get a time period. 2011. Let's get a new question. Yes. Did drugs together? When you say drugs, what do you mean? Like weed? Yeah. We smoke some weed. Yeah. Like, don't get it twisted. All this stuff y'all talking about pink powder and MMDA and opiates and all of that. I want you to be specific. I was in the garden. I was a gardener. I was not using no pills. So then there was an objection and the sidebar sustained and it was moved on. Um, so they said, what's going on? Still said, I believe it was discussed on direct and I'm exploring their relationship. The court said, what is there to explore? What's the relevance of the question? That they were intimate. Your Honor, this is a direct violation of Rule 412. Okay. The first question definitely was, I sustain the objection. What's the objection on the second question? The government says, same objection. I think intimate is also violating 412, especially given the sustained objection. The court said, let's move on. I think you can talk. They were in a relationship, right? What other relevance to this does any of this line of questioning have? What does it matter? All right, I note my objection. I'm asking you a question. What is the answer? That's the court. Brian Steele said, I think it matters that there has been testimony from Ms. Ventura that she is being suffocated. These are my words by Mr. Combs, and she is spending all her time doing unconsensual sex. Yet she is having intimate relations with this gentleman, and it's all calm and consensual. That's really where I'm going. And the court said if that's the proffer of relevance, then the objection is sustained. So they're not going to let him, this was the sidebar, so they're not going to let him talk about them being intimate. Mr. Steele, you may proceed. And then he said, Mr. Steele, I just want to, the court said, you can't say anything. Mr. Steele's going to ask you questions and you can answer. So then Kid Cudi said, I just want to clarify something from earlier. And the court said, you're going to have a chance on redirect. He like, all right, cool. Cool. Do you want to clarify? So then Steele asked, do you want to clarify something? Yeah. I don't think the date was 2011 when Sean Combs asked me to do the song with Cassie. I think it was 2010. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Now, you really liked Miss Ventura. Is that fair to say? Yeah, she is smart, right? Yep. She's talented. Yes. And she's fun to be with, true? Yes. Outgoing. Yeah. Strong personality. Yeah. And she is interesting to be with, fair? Yeah. And she told you, did she not, that for the last 4 years, so I'm going back to 2011, 4 years before that, she really wasn't with Mr. Combs. It was off again, on again, something to that effect. Is that true? I don't know if that was the exact conversation we had. The first time she talked to me about her relationship with him was around Thanksgiving 2010. And that's when she was telling me she was having a problem. Do you remember meeting with the prosecutor here as well as other people, including the agents, about the case? Yes. Do you remember telling them that you believe from Miss Ventura that for the past 4 years before 2011, she and Mr. Combs were in constant off again, on again? Do you remember that? No, I don't remember that. There may be a book that might help us in front of you. It is to your left. If you see on the bottom of the page, which page? If you look at the second, you might have a post-it note at the very top of the couple of pages. The second post-it note. KK Scorpio. Mr. Steele, KK Scorpio said, I don't see where you're making good points. Wayne said Diddy's lawyers is boring. Why y'all going in on Young Thug's lawyer? You know he that guy now. All right, so they got a post-it note and all of that good stuff, and they opening up some book. If you look at your second post-it, you see at the very top, the second post-it note is a police report. Mr. Steele, first of all, there are post-it notes. This is the court talking. There's post-it notes in this binder instead of the usual tab pages that we usually have. Do you have this so you can show Mr. and Miss Cudi the document on the screen? Yes. I myself am having trouble finding it. So then they say what the number is. It should come up on the screen in a second. Okay, page 6, the middle of the page. It's the second full paragraph, 3 lines up. It's going to be highlighted for you. So then the court said, just take a second, read it to yourself, and when you are ready, you're going to get another question. So he's like, get this. All right. You see where it's highlighted? You can read it all if you need to. Okay. So they took it down. Sure. Do you remember telling law enforcement that Miss Ventura told you that the relationship with Mr. Combs, objection, he'd been off again, on again for 4 years? Law enforcement? Okay, they overruled the objection. So they had him to get a new question. Do you remember telling that to law enforcement? Yes. In 2011, Miss Ventura confided in you, true? Yes. And you confided in her? Yeah. You were even so close with her that for Christmas that year, you flew across the country to Connecticut, her home state. Is that fair to say? Yes. And you spent about 3 days Christmas with Miss Ventura. True? Yes. Her mother and father and her brother. I was with the whole family. Okay. And you did things with their family, true? Yes. And it was a great time. Yes. And you felt very close with her. Yes. And this is after the trespass into your home. True? Yes. With regard to, you said that you were hurt when the relationship ended with Miss Ventura. True? Yes. Because you really cared for her and you knew your feelings for her and you felt that she felt the same way about you. True? Yes. By the time of December 22nd of 2011, that's when your house. Remember when you talked to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Yes. I want to talk to you about some of that, okay? Okay. You believe that you left your front door open. When I say open, I mean unlocked. Is that fair to say? Yes. And there was no forced entry into your home, true? No. Am I correct? Yes. And in the home, there was no damage to the home. By damage, I mean there was no chairs turned over, glass broken, holes in the wall, things like that. True? No. The only thing, I'm not belittling it, but the only thing that you were displaying differently is there were some Christmas presents that were unwrapped, right? Yes. And your dog was behind the door, right? Locked in a bathroom, basically? Yeah. True? True. And no other disturbance there, right? No. And you spoke with Mr. Combs or Sean that evening or that morning, right? I don't know when, I can't remember. Do you remember calling, you talking about after the break in? I'm saying when you went back to your house and you called him on his phone, you told the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, I remember. And Mr. Combs, he was calm, right? Yes. He didn't curse at you, did he? No. He didn't threaten you, right? No. He just said we need to talk basically, right? Yeah. And you were demanding from him, are you at my house? That's basically what you were saying. Yeah. Later, after you got home, you called Mr. Combs again because he's not at your house, right? Right. And he answers the phone, true? Yes. Again, he's calm, right? Yes. And he tells you, I'm coming to your house, something to that effect, right? Yeah. There's no mention of a firearm, right? No. No one threatens you with a firearm, right? No. You came to meet him. You had no belief that he had a firearm. No one, Miss Capricorn Clark, didn't tell you that, right? At that point, I really didn't know. Maybe he would. I couldn't call it. Let's do it this way. Miss Capricorn Clark didn't tell you that, right? No, but I took it. I guess what the judge is telling us, the answer to the question, you related a conversation with Miss Capricorn Clark to the jury, right? Yeah, yeah. She didn't tell you he is armed with a firearm, right? No. You're a strong person. Is that fair to say? That's how you categorize yourself? Yeah. You are a principled person, fair to say? Yes. And you went back to your home. You told the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to fight Mr. Combs if he was there, right? Yeah. Because nobody has the right to wait for you in your house, whether damage was done or not. That was your position, right? Yeah. If you want to talk, you can text me. We can talk. But this crossed the line. And Miss Ventura, when she told you and confided in you about her relations with Mr. Combs, she told you that there was a physical abuse, right? Yes. And that bothered you because you were, these are my words. If it is not true, just say it's not true. You were in love with her, right? Yeah. Y'all called it. Y'all said Kid Cudi was in love with her. Mm. And she never told you, as close as you were with her, that there was any type of sexual abuse. Is that true? No. Am I correct? Yes. And she also told you, with all your dealings with her, texting every day or speaking every day or seeing her every day, whatever, the relationship is what I'm talking about. You never saw Mr. Combs do anything inappropriate to Miss Ventura. Is that true? No. Let me just ask it differently. Am I correct? Is that a correct statement? Yes. You never were interrupted by Mr. Combs. True? No. You spent time with her freely, right? Right. And Miss Ventura was free with you. She was carefree as far as you could tell. True? Yeah. Now, with regards to going back to the meeting at the, I believe you said it's called the Soho House. Yes. And some of the jurors may not have been there before, okay? So, have you been or do you remember being in that room? Can you describe that room that you talked about that you and Mr. Combs were in? Can you just point for them what it really looks like? Yeah, it's like a nice sized big room, windows. One wall was all windows, looked into Beverly Hills, and we were on like, I don't know, Soho House starts at like the seventh floor or something like that. So we were high up. Do you know some people may not know what is the Soho House? If you were going there, what would you be going there potential doing there potentially? It's like a members only type restaurant slash, meeting place. You can have business meetings there or get lunch, get dinner. Queen Brielle said, I wonder if they will have an Apple Tech testify to trial for what they found in computers, iPad, and phones like they did during R. Kelly Rico trial. They had somebody who extracted it after here, but I ain't about to go over all that today. Thank you. Tiffany, thank you so much. You said, I'm a new follower of your channel and eager to offer my support, particularly towards the transcript. Your content is both enlightening and high. Thank you, Tiffany. That is so kind of you. And welcome. Welcome to the channel. I appreciate your support. You are bomb. Um, Dang, he was in love with her. That was pretty. Mm-mm-mm. How is Diddy upset a woman moving on knowing he didn't want to commit to her in the first place? The same reason why you have people like Neo that say, I got 4 girlfriends, but they can't have a boyfriend. And they understand that. And if they want to be with me, they got to just be with me. I mean, it's people that feel that way. Ooh, my allergies. You said, has anyone checked on the jury? Oh my gosh, y'all are hilarious. Did you guys hit that like button? Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We've had like over 1,000 new subscribers in the last few days, and I'm so excited. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much. It is. There is a if I remember correctly, there is a agent or something that is going to talk about. It may just be on Cassie's device though. I'm not sure. We don't even know if they got anything off of Diddy's at this point because based on the cross examination, the freak off videos that they've gotten, it was testified to that they all came from Cassie's device. Is how it was testified. Yeah. This proves she tried to leave him within the first 2 years of dating him. That's what you got from that? So if she's still messing with Diddy at the same time and then she decides to mess with somebody else, that's what y'all get from that? That's what you get from that? If she told him they've been on again, off again the last 4 years, so basically she was messing with him, like Kid Cudi said she was messing with him and Diddy at the same time, basically. She was trying to make Diddy jealous. I don't know. I don't know. A lady 747 said they had an open relationship. Yeah, open on his side, and he wanted it closed on her side. That was the problem. And maybe like It probably was times where she broke up with him because he said something about you always breaking up with me. And then as long as he and she knew if she dated somebody else, it would get his attention. She might have dated other people because she like you gonna miss this good thing. You don't know what games that she could have been playing as well with it. I don't know. This is a interesting relationship they have, to say the least. Eccentric. That wasn't nice. She is not a 304. That is not nice. That's what she did, the same thing with her. Not that's why I'm telling you, like, it's a pattern. Like she broke up with Diddy in August of 2018. It's supposed to be the final breakup. They never got back together in a relationship after that, but she did sleep with him a couple of times. And one of the times she got done sleeping with him, and the ex, and her now husband FaceTime, and she missed the call. So it's kind of like a pattern. She'll get with somebody in between time, in the meantime. Then he'll find out. He found out about an NFL player. They never said the name. He'll find out about who it is, and then he'll try to get his woman back. And then they go through their honeymoon period again, and then they together. And then all of a sudden, probably the same shenanigans, and him not being, him being trash and going back messing with Kim and Gina and Tina and Marie and whoever else. And then she break up with him again because she see a picture on Instagram. They break up because she broke up with him for like him cheating and seeing pictures. She didn't do it for the abuse. Like, that's what she said. So you break up with him, then she finds somebody else real fast. She get with somebody else, and then she date them for a minute. She try to keep it on the hush. She got aliases in her phone. She got burner phones, I guess, with Kid Cudi. And then he find out, he act a fool again, scare the guy off, and then they do, the same cycle. Her current husband, apparently, he was like, you ain't going nowhere. You mine. You my woman. And so he stuck in there until she I guess she detoxed from Diddy. Or maybe Diddy left her alone and wasn't even trying to get back with her like that. He was texting her randomly, but wasn't really trying to see her again like that and let her move on with her life. And so she was able, I guess, to just make it work with the husband. So it's kind of like a pattern going on. He put a baby in her and moved to her mom's house. You know what? Diddy got that Chinese woman pregnant. He was with Cassie. That baby 2 years old now. She had the baby? Is that Gina? I didn't know she had the baby. I thought, wasn't it something about he wanted her to get rid of the baby or something? Or are you talking about the recent one, like Love? Whoever, I don't know who the baby mommy is for her. You're right. And Mac feels like there should have been an investigation on the dog by Peter. Said, I'm not trying to be funny. If the dog was jittery and traumatized by this event, could Peter conduct an investigation? Yeah, I don't know Dana, cousin E. Dana is Love's mom. I don't know Dana. Okay. All right, Dana. Dana is Asian too. Oh, okay. He married to her. Are y'all serious? Allegedly. I don't know. All right, let's continue with Brian Steele. All right. We gonna get through this, I promise. I know it was this darn long. I'm like, dang, it seemed like with them tweets, I was like, oh, this about to be in and out. I didn't realize how much was not in the tweets. Because I'm like, okay, it's cool. Hope, thank you for the cash app. I appreciate it. Okay. Now, Mr. Combs made it clear to you that he was also confused. True? True. Just like you, he's similarly situated. He did not, to your knowledge, know that you were dating Miss Ventura. True? Yes, true. And he wants to understand, how did this happen? And you want to understand, how did this happen? Basically, right? Yes. And Miss Ventura was living two different lives. Is that true? Yes. There was an objection, overruled. When you went in the room with Mr. Combs, no weapons to your knowledge, true? No. He definitely didn't threaten you, true? No. In fact, he was gracious. I think your word was really calm. Yeah. And you were professional as well, true? Yes. And it was an understanding, a meeting that this was about a girl, a relationship, and both of you guys were played. That's pretty much how it ended, true? True. And the person who played you was the same person who played Sean. It's Miss Ventura. True? True. To your knowledge, we're approximately, if you don't mind, approximately 13 and a half years after January 9th, 2012, when your car was damaged. Is that approximately true? Yes. To your knowledge, no one has been charged or arrested for the damage to your car. Am I right? No. Objection sustained. The jury disregard the witness's answer. Have you ever gone back to court at any time or been notified to go to court as a victim about your car? There was an objection. There was a sidebar. And they're saying, So this is the sidebar. We're not going to go over that. In the 13 and a half years that has passed in California, have you ever been notified that there's been any other action on this case in California? Action on the car, the damage to the car? No. Your Honor, may I have a moment? You may. Probably went back and conferred with his 20 other lawyers, his co-counsels. Do you remember back when you were with Miss Ventura? Did she have multiple phones, if you can remember? I don't think I remember that. Do you remember telling that to law enforcement that she had multiple phones? I don't know. I can't remember. Can I ask you to look at something in this honorable court with this court's permission to see if it jogs your memory? Yeah, if I said it, I guess I said it. Let's go to the next question. Would you do me a favor and read that to yourself when it's on your screen? It's the line above. It's going to be highlighted for you. And tell me if that refreshes your memory. Yeah, it does. Fair to say, with your memory refreshed, she had multiple phones? Yeah. Do you know what a burner phone is? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Can you explain that to the jury? I guess it's an untraceable phone. With regards to the night of the trespass in your home, I think you called it a break in. I guess more narrow to trespass, but that's what I'm talking about, okay? Right. You received a phone call from Miss Ventura explaining that she gave your home address to Combs. Do you remember that? The morning of, not the evening. About 5:30 in the morning, fair to say? Yes. I'm just trying to coordinate you. Yeah. And that information about your address, according to what you were told, came from Miss Ventura to Mr. Combs. Yes. Your Honor, I do not believe that I have any other questions. I want to thank the court. Thank you so much, sir. That's it. So then the AUSA got back up. Miss Cudi, you were asked by Mr. Steele some questions on cross-examination about Miss Ventura confiding in you. Do you remember those questions? Yes. And do you recall that Mr. Steele asked you about Miss Ventura confiding in you about Mr. Combs being physically abusive to you? Yes. What did Miss Ventura confide in you specifically about that abuse? That he would hit her, sometimes kick her? Do you also recall that Mr. Steele asked you some questions about whether Miss Ventura was free when she was with you? Yeah. And he described her as carefree. Do you remember that line of questioning? Yes. Directing your attention to the day of the break in, the morning when Miss Ventura called, would you describe her as carefree when she called you that morning? No. Would you describe her as carefree throughout the day when you saw her? No. You were also asked some questions about a conversation you had with Capricorn Clark. Do you remember those questions? Yes. Now, what exactly did Miss Clark tell you about how she ended up at your house that morning? She told me that Sean Combs and an affiliate came to her apartment and made her get in a car to come up to my house. What else, if anything, did she say about how they made her get in the car? They forced her physically. What were your concerns, if any, about going to your house that day? I didn't really know what I was walking into, but I was so angry at first. Then, once I thought about it, not really knowing if they had weapons or if there was any type of situation like that, that's when I called the police. And did you know either way whether there were any weapons involved? No. And when Miss Ventura called you that morning, what was your understanding of what she was scared of? Him finally knowing that we had been hanging out and that he had my address and he was probably going to come over to my house. And who's the him that you were describing? You say what now? When you say him, who are you describing, referring to? Sean Combs? And how would you describe Cassie that day of the break in? Just really shocked. Do you have an understanding of why she was shook? Yeah, because of just the circumstance of him finding out about us. You are also asked questions about your feelings for Miss Ventura. Do you remember that? Yes. And you were asked about whether you care for Miss Ventura. Do you remember that? Yes. Why did your relationship with Miss Ventura end despite having feelings for Miss Ventura? The drama. It was just getting out of hand and kind of wanted to give her some space. What drama are you talking about? The break ins and everything. Why did you want to give it space? Just feeling like things were just getting out of hand, and for my safety, for her safety, I just thought it was an objection. So then they repeated the question. Repeat the question? Sure. You just said you were concerned for your safety and Miss Ventura's safety. Why were you concerned about your safety? Because Your Honor, objection 404A. Of course, said, give me a second. Can we approach if needed? They overruled the objection. Ask the question again. We are talking about when you broke off your relationship with Miss Ventura. Do you remember that? Yes. And that's around the end of the year 2011. Is that right? Yes. And you mentioned you had safety concerns. Yes. Why did you have safety concerns? Because I knew Sean Combs was violent. There was another objection. So they got a sidebar. Miss Johnson, you may proceed. Thank you, Your Honor. Miss Cudi, do you recall being asked on cross examination some questions about the meeting you had with Mr. Combs at the Soho House? Yes. Do you recall that Mr. Steele asked you questions about what Mr. Combs was thinking during that meeting? Yeah. Objection. Can you rephrase the question? Did you recall that Mr. Steele asked you questions about whether Mr. Combs thought the meeting was about a girl? Yes. Do you recall testifying earlier today about a conversation that you had with Mr. Combs at the end of that meeting? Could you repeat that? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. He can't hear nothing. Do you recall testifying earlier today about a conversation you had with Mr. Combs about that meeting? Yes. Do you recall testifying that Mr. Combs said, I don't know what you're talking about? Yes. Objection. It was overruled. Mr. Combs said, I don't know what you're talking about. Then you asked about your car. Is that correct? Yes. Did you believe Mr. Combs when he said he didn't know what you were talking about? It was another objection. Rephrase the question. What was your understanding when Mr. Combs said he didn't know what you were talking about at the end of that conversation? It was overruled. He was lying. No further question. They asked Mr. Steele if he had any questions. Mr. Steele said, "No, thank you, sir. No, I'm done." So that is the end of Kid Cudi's testimony. Any questions? What do you guys think? Do you guys think this was good for Diddy, bad for Diddy? Thank you, Beverly, for the Cash App. So kind of you. I appreciate it. What y'all think? I need to know what the social media jurors think. Do y'all think the testimony of Kid Cudi helped the government make their case as far as RICO? Well, obviously, the whole burning of the car is a part of a predicate act within the indictment. So he established that he thought it was him. Of course, we don't really know. There was some mention of DNA. However, there was no information that was presented for us to know about this DNA that it matched a female. This sounds like Tory Lanez, right? This whole DNA, a man was excluded. It was a woman who was on the DNA. It's a mixture. That's what it's giving Tory Lanez on this DNA. But anyway, but there was no elaboration. There was no evidence. Of course, a witness is evidence. What a witness says is considered evidence or testimony. The jury can decide how to weigh that testimony and whether they want to believe, yeah, he blew that man's car up. He went in that man's house, even though the door was unlocked. So Kid Cudi did testify that the door was unlocked. Nobody damaged anything. Nothing like that happened. Capricorn, I guess, is the one that told him they forced me in the car to come to your house. But what if she testified? I can't see her not testifying. Her name is coming up too much. Her name is coming up way too much. Well, you don't have to do overt acts for conspiracy. You only do. That's what I said. There's a difference in RICO conspiracy. You really don't have to prove overt acts. So, but you do have to prove like agreements. The enterprise does not have to necessarily be organized. We went over what enterprise is. But yeah, a predicate act. That is a predicate act within there to say racketeering, you're committing crimes. But I'm just having a hard time. And RICO is just a hard thing to grasp too for even the average. Some lawyers, it's hard to grasp, so even for the average person. But to differentiate between this was just a personal beef, not that he's using this, to commit a bunch of crimes. I don't know. I'm still having a disconnect with it, but I hope the jury isn't thinking like me. I already see Diddy in prison. He guilty, in my opinion. It's the second week. Dang, he an elder. Okay. Tiffany said, I'm flabbergasted and don't have a decision yet. I feel like I need to hear my testimony pertaining to RICO. I agree with that. Capricorn is due to testify on Tuesday, I believe. Now, that'll be a transcript I get because her name definitely came up a few times. But Capricorn sound like if she was Diddy's assistant as well, she was friends with Cassie. So, yeah, I can see. So she hanging out with Cassie while Cassie is dating other guys while she with Diddy. I mean, Cassie's going to say they were off. They was on they on again, off again, and they were off. Okay, no proof of our ex, but what evidence is saying he orchestrated these things? Text, cell phone, tower location. Peachy Bama, none of it. Except it can be inferred, I guess, because Kid Cudi testified he had a conversation. Diddy said, I came to your house. We knew Diddy had a beef. They saying Kid Cudi didn't have beefs with anybody else. But then allegedly they got fingerprints on the cocktail that it was a woman that did it. So are y'all going to be able to somehow trace the woman as being a part of Diddy's? He instructed them to do it. But did he instruct them to do it for the ways they're saying he did it? Or was it because he's just an abuser and he has control and narcissistic ways in his relationships? That's the hard thing to connect from the criminal aspect. And I think that's why he was so confident. Like, I was just a messed up boyfriend. That's it. Now, wouldn't that be something? What if the fingerprints are? That would be a twist. You know what? I'm not, y'all are, your minds are in the gutter. My gosh. I'm sure she will ask for immunity. She better. Anybody testifying better ask for some type of immunity. Greer Jones said more info on the DNA, otherwise they wouldn't have mentioned it. I agree. Trespass versus burglary versus unlawful entry is crazy to me. They didn't fully investigate what happened to his car. You said Capricorn sounds like a snitch. If Capricorn could put them in the house, that's all I need to hear. I don't even think you need, I mean, he's saying that she told him that they was at the house. You think she gonna testify? I did not tell Kid Cudi nothing like that. He making that up as he go. Mrs. KP Bailey said poor Cudi got played and caught up in his mess behind Cassie. He definitely liked her for real. He liked her for real, for real. I hope okay, I already did that one. Seems like she may be the real star witness. She might be, right? Forced her in the car to do what exactly? I don't know. He's saying forced her. He said forced her in the car to like go with him to his house or show where he lived or something. Because obviously they all hung out together. So if they were already friends hanging out before they decided to get together, he said it was him, Capricorn, and it was Cassie all the time. But Cassie already gave him the address. So why would Capricorn even be needed? If Cassie gave the address and she called him and said that, why would Capricorn have to be in a car to show like where the house is? Because he had the address already. Terry said, it seems to me that Cassie was groomed by Diddy from an early age to have an ex and multiple people at the same time. Being in a relationship with Lauren, so she dated others when she was with him. Do you know what her relationships were prior to Diddy? Do you know if she dated other people before that and whether she was having, you have to make a lot of leaps in order to say like Diddy is responsible for how she did everything. But we don't really know that about her. We know she dated Leslie. We know she had a boyfriend in high school because she did some interview about him. She dated the producer. He was like 9 years older than her. She does equate a lot of her experience to Diddy. She has done that, but she did have a 3-year relationship with an older guy before Diddy. That's probably why Ryan Leslie is like, I ain't got nothing to say. Okay. Thank you, Alice. Thank you. Dang, Caramel said he ain't coming home. Sassy Sue said, all I got from it is that all Diddy have around him is people that hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil concerning him. I did think that the assistant wasn't really that bad. What that bad, like, yes, he saw domestic violence, but we already knew that already. He left not because he felt like it was like too much going on criminally in the business. He said he still uses the nuggets from Diddy to this day. He said he couldn't morally be around it. Even though it was a great opportunity, his morals wouldn't allow him to watch a woman get beat up. So I don't know. Strand said, I think defense is doing a good job, but it's an uphill battle as Diddy's guilt is just obvious, not believable that Cassie blew up the car like they're highly implying. That's what you got? Did they think Cassie did it? I don't think they were trying to imply that Cassie blew up the car. I didn't even get that at all. So I mean, it just lets you know how everybody thinks differently. Like I didn't get that. I was honestly thinking like they just wanted to say it wasn't him because it was a woman. I didn't think that it was like we're gonna say Cassie did it. That's interesting. This trial is perfectly organized to follow each civil case to show a pattern of RICO predicates 8 will come together in the end. We'll see, Stephanie. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that and your comment. M. Max says Suge Knight has alleged that Diddy beat the hell out of Capricorn car. Really? I mean, Suge Knight, though. All these people, you don't know who to believe. I mean, I wouldn't call Suge Knight as a witness for that on the stand. And wasn't he with an ex the night before? Could it have been her? Or is my timeline mixed up? He was with an ex, the car situation, the blowing up of the car. I think he was with an ex-girlfriend's sister. Over the ex-girlfriend's sister's house. I don't know if the ex-girlfriend was there. I don't know, but it's interesting. He seemed like he was for the streets too. I'm just saying. Around that time. How so, Wayne? You said, does David's testimony contradict George? How so? Mm-mm. Nah, I can believe that. I can believe that based on the track record, and that wouldn't be that don't seem too far fetched. But it's alleged that he would have done that because he didn't tell him about Cassie and was hanging with him too. Right. You said, yes, I think the testimony of Kid was damaging to the defense, considering all the previous testimony about Sean Combs and his way of having people do things for him that are illegal. Okay, Ray. I don't think the defense did a good job with their questioning. You don't think Brian Steele did a good job, Major? Brian, they not feeling your cross-examination, bro. They need to get Nicole Westmoreland back on the job. He don't have a track record of beating on his assistants so far from the two. That's what I'm saying though. But with Capricorn, again, that would have been, if he did that to her, again, that would have been related to his personal life. She just happened to be his assistant. So that's why I'm saying it's too much where you just can't tell, like, how is this even related to his organizations and bad boys and all of that? This seemed like his personal life. He's just trash as a boyfriend. Only Diddy does some crap like that. Cudi knew who did it. And then said Brian Steele is the new Johnny Cochran. Him and Westmoreland are the new dream team. You going too far, Ann and Lee. You going way too far. Johnny Cochran cannot be imitated or duplicated. Okay. That is a person you can still study to this day and try to get his techniques. But that's why I like Sean Holly. Sean Holly she's doing some of his civil cases, which I don't know why she's not on the team to do some of this criminal stuff. But to be on the criminal, she was with the Cochran firm, so she's a great attorney as well. But you going a bit too far, making Brian Steele like. Hey, Minx the Cutie. Thank you for the super chat. She said, hey, Pam, the intellect, sending love from ATL. What do you think a lesser charge would be if they can't find him guilty on the RICO? He got other charges. He still has separate charges for trafficking and prostitution. Those are separate charges. They're a part of the RICO because what RICO allows you to do is bring all the alleged crimes under one count, but then they do all the counts individually as well. Shay B said beating up and forcing your employees to get in a car. But it wasn't like, it was still personal. Like it was because of Cassie, because she knew she hanging out with Cassie, even if it's on the personal time. You hanging out with Cassie, and you my assistant. Your loyalty to me. You know all my business, and my shoot. She probably told Cassie like, "You better get in where he kind of cute, girl. You better get in where you fit in." Diddy out here doing whatever. He out here Diddy bopping with the next chick. You need to Harlem shake your way over there with Kid Cudi. She probably was telling her like, this nigga, like he ain't never gonna stop doing what he doing. So don't forget F. Lee Bailey handled the OJ case, the mastermind behind it all. And what happened? Where is F. Lee Bailey now? What happened? Hmm? Cudi is a musician, Cassie is a singer. Everybody started out work related. Lovely me said, "You going to jail. You going to jail." That's what Cardi B said. She was singing that song trying to talk about Tasha K. We'll see. We only in week 2 of testimony. The government got what, about 3 more weeks at minimum of testimony. We don't know what that's going to be, but we will say the first 2 weeks has some fireworks. Jane Doe still has not testified. She going to have some fireworks, I'm sure. We got Capricorn. She probably gonna have some fireworks. So we just getting started. Then Diddy said they're putting on a case where they're gonna take a week themselves. So that means they have multiple witnesses that they're going to have. Probably someone to talk about the books and how they separated. Probably people that was there for some other incidents related to Cassie. Probably some individuals that's police or whoever that's gonna say his DNA wasn't on that. You know what I'm saying? Like he's putting on his own case. The government ain't just about to just put on their own witnesses without him putting on his own case. So we about to see what happens, y'all. Yeah, I don't see KK gonna have to plead the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th. Now she gonna have to plead the 5th for real, because she in these lawsuits where they're trying to throw her in this stuff as being his assistant. Why do y'all all keep asking this question? My question, how was it that Cassie was considered cheating when Diddy had multiple women? Because people that are abusive and protective, they look at you like you're their property. At one point in this here divided states of America, women were property. They really were. Not too long ago. You had segregation. You had discrimination, which you still have some of, but women were actually considered property. And so some men still have that mindset that when you're mine, you're mine. And regardless to what they do, you should know what's up. That's why you have people, like I said, like Neo, who say, I told every last one of them, you don't have to be in this situation, but y'all can't have a man. If you want to be with somebody else, you got to be up out of this situation. But I need all 4 of y'all to be my girlfriend, and y'all got to be, you guys have to be monogamous with me. So yeah, literally. And some people have that mindset, and some older men, they still have that mindset. So listen, I'm not nobody's psychologist. I'm just trying to be a soldier for justice. That's all I'm out here trying to do. That's what my calling is. That's it. I know what my calling is. I know what I'm here to do, and I do it every single day. Speaking of that, tomorrow I will be on the platform to talk about wrongful convictions, and I'm going to put the link on my post tomorrow. I think it's at 8:30. And I'm gonna need y'all to come over there and show out. You know what I'm saying? And just give the support. Not gonna be on there that long, but I'm going on there because one of my clients was on there talking, and I be having to watch and make sure people don't be saying stuff they're not supposed to say. But That was a little plug for, my real, my day job. YouTube is my real job too, but being a lawyer is my day job. So yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. I have a professor who wrote a book called, or I don't know if she wrote it, but I know she was about to write it and she was telling me what the title was, From Being Property to Owning Property. And it was about women. Like we were we was considered property. Like divide us up. Like you belong to me. And some people have that mindset. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying to try to get you to understand why some people feel that way. And knowing and unknowingly, polygamy is the practice of having multiple spouses at the same time. It's a mindset. That's from collective tribal consciousness. Regarding Gina trying not to testify, do you expect witness tampering or obstruction charges for P. Diddy? No, she might not want to testify, just like all the rest of them didn't, and they might not have been able to find her. Shoot. Maybe she feel like she don't want to put her personal business. She told a lot on Tasha K. I mean, what? Will you look up St. Michael's Academy where Diddy attended and look at their charges? Oh goodness. So what were their priests accused of doing some ungodly things? St. Michael Academy charges. Let me see. Criminal. Saint in persons. Is this see, it's a few of these. The teacher and volunteers arrested. Substitute teacher. No, that's not them. This is Arlington. You have to find it for me. Yeah, Diddy was. So what y'all think somebody gonna come up there and say that he was violated when he was a kid or something? To try to explain why he's the jerk that he is? High paying what was run a hostile witness can testimony counted against Diddy. Oh, I mean, it's however they take the testimony with Gina. Raynetta said, I dodged a subpoena, didn't face jail time, but they were able to convict without my testimony. No, you didn't do your duty. You didn't do your duty as an American citizen and you dodged a subpoena. I'm very, very disappointed in you, Raynette. We need you. Yeah, she had the Michigan mom that abandoned her kids. I want to say earlier this week or last week, she had a preliminary exam on the welfare fraud cases, and she got bound over. But yeah, I think they waived the other one, so it'll just go to federal court. I got to look that up. I've been so. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dennis. You said it was 1987. Is that when he went to that school? Girl, I need you to DM me. Go to at Pam ESQ on Instagram or go to the lawintellects@gmail.com. And I need you to send me the information because all this Googling. All right, y'all. We've been on for 3.5 hours. And you know how much I love y'all, right? So I don't know what tomorrow holds. We'll see if his testimony worth going to get. And from there, we will decide what we're going to do. Or if I do, well, oh dang, I got court all day tomorrow. See, I'll be forgetting my whole schedule. I'm like in court. So I may come to, if I come on tomorrow, it'll be in the evening. I'm definitely going to probably come on the weekend. And if any of this other testimony with the makeup artist and it was an agent that's on this transcript, I'll go over that on the weekend. If it's something worth going over. Or in the membership, one or two, I don't know. I don't know. No court till Tuesday. Okay. Thank y'all so much. Thank you. So yeah, what I'll do tomorrow then evening is maybe I'll go over the rest of the transcript from today. Maybe that's what I'll do. Okay. Okay, guys. Then Saturday, I still got some more transcript that I have from the other. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll do something to make sure we get it all in. Why are they taking off tomorrow and Monday? Why? Did they say why? Judge is like, this ain't my only case. I got work to do. Did they say why? I'm gonna have to ask. I'll ask Dennis. Is Monday Memorial Day? Dang. That came kind of fast. Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much. I love each and every one of you. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed the well, I told you I can't say enjoyed, but you were informed with the transcript. Thank you, Pam. You are definitely appreciated. Thank you, Sagittarius vibe. All right, y'all. Well, we'll be back on with some more stuff and all of that good stuff. But until then, I'll holler at you guys. You guys have a great night.